Welcome, everybody, to another night of Get Their Streams. You can find us here every Tuesday at twitch.tv/mtggetthere. My name's Kirby. I'm here tonight with Nathaniel.
Yep.
And
Hello,
we are
everyone.
going to be playing some Legacy. Want to get us started off with what we're seeing tonight?
Alright, so we're going to be starting off with a little 10 pins versus Eldrazi Post action. Eldrazi Post being a deck that seeing a little bit more play now since Legacy's in kind of like this weird transitional phase. And Sean is on a slightly off version of the 10 fence that's running the new, well, not new, but relatively new Magus of the Mind technology as kind of a alternate Stormwind condition. And then we're also going to be seeing some Rug Delver later on tonight, a deck that has seen a spike in popularity since the banning of Deathrite Shaman and Chitaxian Probe. Alurin, Sneak and Show, and Maverick are also going to be featured at different points tonight.
Okay.
And
So let's head on over to Sean's deck list for Tin Fins. As you said, this list is a little bit different than his usual, and one of the key cards is Magus of the Mind.
Yep.
You want to bring Magus up real quick on the side?
Alright, one
Okay.
second. And
While I get that up, Tin Fins is a deck that is basically like a Hyper Reanimator style deck. It uses Shallow Grave to bring a card from your graveyard out immediately with haste. So, like, I want to say kind of a hybrid between Reanimator and, like, Sneak and Show,
yeah.
where it's trying to get a hasty threat on the board.
Now, sorry for cutting you off, but a lot of times what we'll see with this deck is they have Emrakul in the deck to go with the Grizzlebrands, and the idea is that you'll Grizzlebrand pick up your deck, use Children of Coriolos to keep fueling yourself, and then have the Emrakul plus Grizzlebrand to swing for 22. But in this deck, the win condition is slightly different.
It plays Magus of the Mind, which is basically a Mind's Desire on a stick.
Yep.
It counts the number of spells that you cast already this turn, +1, and you just blue tap, sack it, and Mind's Desire for that much.
Yep. And from what I can tell, the idea to win with this deck is you're going to be casting your Mastermind's Acquisition to get your Tendrils of Agony from the sideboard to storm your opponent out. And you have a lot of tools to guarantee that your storm count is high enough, and a lot of different things to make sure that you get that Magus of the Mind in the graveyard, to get the Grizzlebrand in the graveyard, and to get them out as quickly as turn 1 or turn 2.
It also has a little bit of disruption in 4 Thoughtseize, a couple Collective Brutality, and is it just a 1 of Cabal Therapy?
It sure appears to be a
Yeah.
1 of Cabal Therapy.
Neat.
He has a total of 5 discard spells, and then that's the 5th discard spell in the deck. In which, that's fine. It makes sense, I guess. If you have a certain number, then 4 Thoughtseize is the most versatile discard spell, being as you don't need to know what's in your opponent's hand for it to be good.
It's also got a few interesting sideboard cards, but we'll wait until we get finished Game 1, and then we'll
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that.
And I think that we've talked enough about this, unless there's anything you want to hit
Nope.
on. All right, and for Harley's deck list, we're just going to be looking at a deck that is focused around using Eldrazi Post and your other lands that produce multiple mana to throw out big spells and disruptive artifacts to kind of prevent your opponent from enacting their game plan while allowing you to do kind of busted things off curve.
And it accelerates out with Grim Monolith and Simian Spirit Guides,
Yep.
just to put out the threats earlier, in addition to it already playing Soul Lands. It also has a few Trinisphere to try to mess with your opponents, make sure that they don't storm off. Really does a number on something like Delver, which tries to out-tempo you by putting out cheap threats and cutting you off in mana, so it makes things a little bit difficult for them.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it just plays big squids.
Yeah, and Harley hoping to get there with the big squid today, so we'll see if he's able to successfully do that.
Okay? You guys can start.
Alright, have no idea who's on the play here, but this is a matchup, pretty much anytime you're playing against an Eldrazi colorless deck in Legacy, or a combo deck like Sean's, you want to be on the play against it. So that way they can't, on Harley's side, put out like a Chalice or something on turn 1, and from Sean's side, they can't win on turn 1.
Even a Chalice on 0 really hurts Sean's current version of the deck. He's running 4 Lotus Petals and 3 Lion's Eye Diamonds to generate a bunch of mana.
Yeah. He in general just has a hard time dealing with that, and I don't know that he can actively beat a Trinisphere. as well?
Uh, Maybe. He has to be extremely lucky with Magus of the Mind.
Yeah. And even then, it's just getting the Magus of the Mind back is going to be a pain because you have to still cast your reanimation spell, and you have to be able to have the mana activated and then cast the spells off the Magus of the Mind.
Yeah. You're going to have to hit LEDs every single time to generate back the mana that
Yeah.
you need.
Though, even then, yeah, you're just going mana neutral at that point, though.
Yeah.
And Harley here starting off with a turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer. He sees a hand of 2 Lotus Petals, a Lion's Eye Diamond, a Cabal Ritual, and a Dark Ritual, as well as 1 Polluted Delta.
Doesn't really have a great pick here. I guess the Lion's Eye Diamond is probably the best, in which Harley decides to go with.
Yeah. Lion's Eye Diamond or Cabal Ritual, as it's your the ritual that nets you the most mana when you cast it.
But you can see how powerful the Grim Monolith is. Like, just accelerating you that 1 extra mana can really change the tide of the game.
Yeah, and then if you have a little bit more time and you don't have to wait during the turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer, you can even put something really big out on turn 3, and that's also kind of a busted play you can make with that card.
Especially a turn 1 Trinisphere.
Turn 1 Trinisphere is really good against most decks in this format.
So Sean draws Ponder for the turn, and he's debating on the top 3 cards if he wants to keep it. He really needs some gas here because he has nothing but rituals.
Yep.
So he's thinking about it. Looks like one of the cards was Past in Flames. I believe it was the 3rd card. So he's storming off.
He is either... Okay, he is definitely storming off. I was about to say, there's a chance he's just playing out the petals to play around a Chalice on 0 coming out, but it looks like he's going to try to do something here.
I think at this point in the game, he shouldn't really be scared of a Chalice on 0. I think Harley would go ahead and just jam it on 1.
Oh, yeah. That's fair. And it looks like he's just going to hard cast the Grizzlebrand here.
Which seems fine.
Seems like it's a hard thing for Harley's deck to deal with. A 7/7 flying lifelink creature in itself is just really strong.
And Sean's going to go ahead and pay 7, draw 7, and see if he can get this Chain of Storm going.
And there's a good enough chance that he's able to win or at least set up a pretty good position this turn off of this Grizzlebrand.
Now, he's already seen 2 of his petals and a Lion's Eye Diamond here, so he would have to dig for one of his other 2 remaining petals
Yeah.
to be able to storm off. He doesn't have anything else to produce in mana this turn.
Yeah, and that is an unfortunate thing for him, but honestly, I think he's just fine to pass back here with just the 7/7 flying in play, and then wait till next turn.
Seems okay. Just a 7/7 lifelinker.
Seems mono decent.
Yeah. And I don't think Harley has a way to deal with it. Harley just kind of has to play the make sure you don't storm off right now.
So Harley can deal with it via one of his 2 Olive's Tusks or one of his 2 Ulamog the Ceaseless Hungers. And aside from that, he is kind of cold to the Grizzlebrand.
We see him play another Glimmer Post, gain a couple life, and play another Thought-Knot Seer.
I imagine we're going to see him go for that Past in Flames here, but there is a chance he goes for the Magus of the Mind. And it looks like he's just going to go for the Magus of the Mind, which, given we know Sean's list, this does make it a little hard on him.
I think the only card that forces Sean to win via Grizzlebrand is losing the Mastermind's Acquisition.
Yeah. He can still win with a Tendrils from the sideboard with his Mastermind's Acquisition.
But if he doesn't have that, like, Grizzlebrand is basically his only win con.
Yeah.
All right. Sean's back in the tank, trying to figure out what he wants to do. He's probably going to pre-combat draw 7 more cards, dig a little bit deeper.
So
he won't be able to have fun like he wanted
Yeah.
with Magus of the Mind, but he still has a very good chance of going ahead and comboing off. I guess I was probably mistaken here. Since you're not trying to, like, put an Emrakul into play and win on the spot,
Yeah.
he's better off just gaining his 7 life and then digging even further.
Yeah, so I think technically speaking it's correct to do it beforehand, just see if maybe what you draw changes your mind, but I don't think there's a realistic high chance that your mind gets changed by what you see.
Hmm.
And he is working with quite a lot of cards in hand here, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him just win the game this turn.
Hmm. He still has that Past in Flames at hand, in addition to the Lion's Eye Diamond, so he has plenty of mana here.
Yes. And I'm just going to take a guess here, but I don't think he has the Mastermind's Acquisition in hand. So I think that he's trying to figure out if he wants to try to dig 4 and if he was willing to try to draw 7 and leave himself dead to these 2 Thought Knots that are in play.
Hmm. Well, he's also running one Intuition that would allow him to grab it and then Past in Flames in order to get his win con.
Provided he has the total needed mana to do that, yes, that is an option available to him. And it looks like he's just passing here. And just once again hoping to win on the following turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was curious how risky that play was, but it would be very hard for Harley to have a Reality Smasher this turn.
Yeah.
To finish him off. He would need both a Soul Land and a Simian Spirit Guide in order to get there.
Yeah, so there's a good enough chance that Sean won't die on the following turn.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this play is safe enough.
Oh.
And it looks like Sean's just going to go for bringing back another Griselbrand from his graveyard, just get that little bit of life gain off.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of taking 8, he gains 3 life this combat.
Yeah. This does force Sean to draw 7 right now. Let's read this real quick. Otherwise, we might have to.
But the top creature from that creature is unaffected by summoning sickness this turn. Yeah, that should be removed from the game.
Hey, Sean, the Griselbrand was reanimated during his combat.
Okay.
Thank you.
There we go. He found the line.
Okay. What Sean might have been thinking, and it is typically a line for this deck, if you have mana left open during your opponent's turn, during your opponent's end step, you'll go ahead and cast either Shallow Grave or what is the other one?
Shallow Grave or Corpse Dance.
Corpse Dance. During the end step, because it won't trigger until the following end step.
Mm-hmm.
So it still allows you to get in an attack and
then you have that little bit additional mana next
Yeah.
turn. So that's probably where his mindset was at, and then he just kind of slipped the fact that that wasn't actually what happened.
For chat, we are looking into having various counters available. Ones that help us keep track of the game. Ones that we may use for other purposes.
Yep. It's a little bit of a work in progress, but I'm sure at some point we will have something a little bit more sophisticated than basic lands with die on them.
Mm-hmm. I don't think we want mana counters. I know how many times we'll probably get those mixed up and a little inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
But a storm counter would definitely be nice. We're also working on poison counters in case we have any infect decks for Modern or Legacy.
Yeah, though I think that the infect counters will definitely be something that we'll be seeing soon, and then storm counters might be a little bit more down the road.
Okay. Sean's going to Entomb. I don't think he's going to put a Griselbrand in there. He's looking for another ritual to allow him to Past in Flames and generate more mana. So it looks like Sean's getting ready to go off.
Yeah.
And that looks to be Mastermind's Acquisition in hand.
So I imagine that he probably has the win here, but it looks like he's thinking quite a bit about it. Oh. Okay.
Okay.
Just cracking the LED here, and I imagine we're just going to see a flashback of the Past in Flames. That's going to cost... Yep, there we go.
He's got this.
He's figuring it out.
He's played a little Storm and old Tin Fins as well. Used to be a lot more Storm heavy.
Yeah. So he has a total of, if I'm looking at the amount of rituals in his graveyard correctly, he will have 7 black mana floating after casting all the rituals, and he will be at storm count 7. Now, those numbers are all kind of awkward for him here, because at 7 mana, he can't cast the Mastermind's Acquisition. 9 mana, never mind.
Okay.
I miscounted. At 9 mana,
No,
he wins the game.
I wasn't sure. I didn't want to doubt the Storm player here. You're
No.
usually pretty good at counting mana.
So what I was mixing up how much mana is netted off of Dark Ritual and Cabal Ritual. So that was my bad.
Okay.
All right, so I guess we'll go and swap on over to the Harley deck first to look at the sideboards here. And
All right. So we see a few pretty obvious ones in 3 Leyline of the Void, 2 Fairy Macabres, and 3 Mindbreak Traps. So the first 5, all very good ways to exile cards from the graveyard.
and then Mindbreak Trap is just a good way to handle the storming off.
Yep. And he'll be keeping in the Chalice of the Voids. He'll be keeping in the Trinispheres. I guess he would just cut a little bit of the top end and a few things like Matter Reshaper that don't really matter.
Yeah, he could cut down on his All Is Dust, his Matter Reshapers. Ugin seems a little weak, and Walking Ballista is probably when he better clocks. Yeah, you have just a lot of top end curve that you can definitely afford to cut. The question is how much you're willing to kind of dilute your deck to disrupt what the opponent's doing. And I think he definitely wants the ley lines, but I'm not sure if he wants to go all in on the Mindbreak Traps.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like the Ley Lines and the Fairy Macabres, and I think between Chalice and Trinisphere, he might be fine keeping Sean off Storm.
yeah, I think that a lot of times if he's able to, if he doesn't die in turn 1, he should be fine a lot of the time. So I think that that's about all to say about his sideboard. Now let's swap over to the slightly less traditional deck here. So from the opponent side, he has access to Echoing Truth, Chain of Vapor, Echoing Truth, Abrupt Decays, and that's about it as far as interaction goes for what the opponent could be doing to disrupt them. He could cut down. He can afford to cut down on some of his discard spells, as a lot of times against the Chalice decks, discard isn't as good as just being able to actively disrupt what the opponent has in play. And I'm not sure what's considered flex spots to be cut from the main board of this deck. I'm not sure if, like for instance, you need the one of Intuition, though it feels like a good card to have in your deck. And there's a chance he just cuts the Collective Brutalities and some number of the Thoughtseize / Cabal Therapies and brings in his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of disruption from the sideboard.
So you said Echoing Truth, Chain of Vapor. What are the other 2 of consideration?
Echoing Truth, Chain of Vapors, Hercule's Recall, and Abrupt Decays.
Okay. To be able to deal with the Chalice or Trinisphere that's currently on the board.
Yeah, because those are the main things you care about. You can't really do much to disrupt the Thought-Knot Seer, and your way of beating him being aggressive is just by going faster. So you need some way of dealing with the artifacts you can't beat while they're in play. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him cut down to 3 1-drop discard spells and no Collective Brutality, since Collective Brutality seems pretty dead here.
One thing to note with Collective Brutality is even though there's not really a good mode on that, it's nice to be able to escalate and discard a Grizzlebrand or Magus of the Mind that's in your hand.
That's
now,
one thing I hadn't thought about.
You can Thoughtseize yourself.
Yeah.
That does come up a lot of times in Reanimator or the like builds. It's also cheaper. It hits more things from Harley's hand. So I think cutting the Collective Brutalities is probably the best bet, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and maybe not cut off your 1-drop discard spells or cut other things, depending on how much disruption you want to bring in from your sideboard here. So, all right, I think that's about all there is to say about that, so I'll go and swap on over to the players.
You can start. All right. So it looks like Harley's still shuffling up here.
Yep, Sean just ready to go, just kind of standing there, all calm stuff. Also, thanks for the reminder. This is not M19 standard. I almost forgot. It's a little easy to mix up M19 standard.
It's also
and
not
Legacy.
modern. Let's get that updated really quick.
Oh, ooh, that's awkward. I bet the. You don't know my life. It might be modern.
Curse Catcher, thank you for getting there. We appreciate the follow.
Great timing as I'm fixing the format. There we go. Don't want to leave a bad legacy.
Modern JK. All right, so Harley starts off with a couple Leyline of the Voids.
They come in for the modern. They stay for the 10 pins.
I hope that Sean brought in his Echoing Truth.
Yeah,
Harley went deep.
Yeah, Harley has all the disruption here. That's one card we didn't bring up, but yeah, it's pretty good in this matchup.
Yeah. Sean should probably fetch in response too.
Oop. Okay.
All right, Sean scoops it up. He forgot to crack the Polluted Delta, and Harley saw the other one in his hand.
Okay.
That's
how you win a game, I guess. So, to be fair, even if he had played optimally, I don't know that he was going to beat the turn 1 double Leyline plus the effectively Pithing Needle that I imagine we're going to see on the Griselbrand.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the Polluted Delta mess up.
Alrighty. Corey, is our stream still saying standard?
Yeah, it super says I'm 19 standard. Thank you, Salt Bastian, for realizing I'm an idiot. It's always great.
We'll hopefully get that fixed in a moment.
Working on that right now. At the very least, you can see that it's legacy on the thing.
All right. So I wonder if we'll have another quick one.
Well, given this matchup, I wouldn't be surprised to see it ending pretty quickly. Though we could see a situation where Harley has a bunch of disruption but no real clock, and Sean has to work his way through it.
Yeah, it looks like Harley went very deep in the sideboard if he was bringing in Sorcerous Spyglass.
Yeah. Though that's not super surprising. He can afford to cut down on some of his...
Still got the Trinisphere in there, too.
Yeah.
Which was expected.
Like, we didn't expect him to cut that. I do have to wonder...
And, okay, so he has Soul Land, Grim Monolith, Trinisphere. So, it gets over to Harley, and Sean doesn't Thought Seize or start comboing off. That might just be game.
Yeah, that Trinisphere is going to make it really hard for Sean to do anything. Now, if Harley's not able to do anything else aside from that, Sean can certainly beat it, but it does put the favor towards Harley.
Yeah, and Sean's down to 6 now, too. And down to 5.
Now, I don't know if he's going to be able to easily beat a turn 1 Trinisphere with a 5-card hand here. He could theoretically win on turn 1 with a 5-card hand, as you don't need that much to go off with this deck.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty unlikely.
So you have, like, Land, Ritual,
Entomb, one reanimation spells is only 4 cards. And it looks like this 5-card hand is good enough. Though, from what I can see, it's certainly not a turn 1 hand. I see 2 Ponders and a Past in Flame. 2 lands, 2 Ponders, and a Past in Flames.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sean's not going to be casting anything for a while.
Yeah, no. And Sean's not going to be happy to see what's coming for him.
All right. Harley starts off City Traders into Grim Monolith into Trinisphere.
Now,
then Sean cries a little.
One thing of note is that Harley is going to be a little slowed down after this point. The next land he plays is going to kill his City of the Traders, and then I don't see much else really going on in his hand. So Sean does have the time.
Mm-hmm. Now Harley's going to be able to catch up pretty fast because he does have a couple of Vesuvas in hand.
Yeah,
just to make copies of this Eldrazi Temple.
He is going to be able to get his mana flowing very shortly, but he is going to give Sean just a little bit of time to attempt to put something together.
And we're going to see Sean play a 3-mana Ponder.
Yeah, 3-mana Ponder, not that great, as it turns out.
Also see that Harley has a Reality Smasher in hand.
Yep, and I imagine we're going to be seeing him work towards playing that on within the next 2 turns or so.
Sean is pondering over a few cards. Looks like it might be a ritual,
It looks like 2 rituals, but I can't tell.
which aren't very good right now.
I have to wonder what he could be looking at that is tempting him, but he's not just taking immediately.
Mhm.
Because it feels like he needs to hit something like an Abrupt Decay, an Echoing Truth, or even a Chain of Vapors, so that way he can answer this Trinisphere that's preventing him from doing anything.
It looks like he picked up Mastermind's Acquisition. And he will be able to hardcast it. It's not in much of a rush right now.
Yeah. Now, big question is, did he leave any amount of disruption in his sideboard so that way that Mastermind's Acquisition could find it?
I could see him only bringing in one of the Abrupt Decays.
Yeah.
Or
that's
maybe
fair.
not bringing in the Hurgle's Recall.
Yeah. I think that would be a reasonable call to make.
All right. And Harley goes... Harley have enough mana for that?
Did he exile Summoning Spirit Guide?
Oh. There was... I'm a little confused.
I don't know how he cast that. I don't know that he could cast that.
Hey, Harley, where was your 5th mana? I think Harley's also... Okay.
Alright, so are we just seeing a pass now? Okay. So yeah. So Harley thought he had 5 mana, but apparently couldn't count. And he just rewound that, took that back, and Sean still cast the Abrupt Decay on end of turn, and is now untapping and casting a Brainstorm.
Seen already a few miscounts today
Oh man.
in round 1.
Well, I can see it's hard, I guess. But that wasn't even that hard. You had 2 lands that produced 2 mana.
Send him back to standard. All right, so without that Trinisphere there, this puts Sean in a much better spot.
Yeah.
Harley doesn't have any threats out right now. Next turn, he'll be able to deploy the Reality Smasher, but it's still going to be a few turns.
Yeah. The Reality Smasher is going to allow him to kind of put some amount of pressure on him, but he's not killing Sean within the next, 2 turns or so. So Sean has the time he needs to set up, and unless Harley draws into a Trinisphere or Chalice, he's not going to be able to actively disrupt what Sean is doing. Now, Sean
Sean's
is
pulling out the Storm Counter.
He's pulling out the Storm Counter while still resolving this Brainstorm.
Yep.
He is in the tank about it.
So it looks like he has Lion's Eye, he's got Past in Flames, he has a Ritual.
And
He's also got a couple mystery cards face down that he's considering putting back on top of the deck.
so I'm not completely sure about the contents of his hand, but with the 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds and the other contents we know, there's a good enough chance that he can win, but it appears he may not think he can. Or at least he hasn't found the line yet.
I believe the 5th card is the Mastermind's Acquisition. So he can Lion's Eye, Ritual, Mastermind's Acquisition, crack both Lion's Eyes, which puts Past in Flames into the graveyard as well. But that does, let's see, that'll generate 6 mana, 1, 2, 3, 4, putting him up to 5 Storm.
But with what he has right now and what he could possibly bring out of the Mastermind's Acquisition, I don't know that he has actively a winning path this turn. And it looks like he agrees.
Well, he doesn't have any pressure on him.
Yeah.
So, unless Harley puts down some kind of hate card to slow him down, Sean's kind of in pretty good shape right now.
Yeah. Now Harley does have access to 7 mana for regular spells and 8 mana for Eldrazi spells this turn. through his 2 Cloud Post and 1 Eldrazi Temple. So we might see him do something, but I think all he has is... Oh, that's
Yeah,
pretty good.
That chalice hurts.
And
It
Sean...
looks like it is a chalice on 1.
Yeah. And Sean just going to go and fire off this Brainstorming response. Seems like a reasonable thing to do.
That was exactly what Sean did not want to see right now.
Yeah. Now he has to find another way of disruption for it, or find a way to win without casting any 1-drops.
This might also be a situation where he will need to Mastermind's Acquisition for a way to deal with that, and then try to combo off the following turn.
Yeah. That, of course, carries its own risks if Harley has something like Fairy Macabres to possibly exile the Passing Flames once it's in its graveyard. But you have to do what you have to do sometimes.
All right. And Harley's going to put out an Endbringer.
And this puts Sean on a 2-turn clock when combined with the other, well, with the Reality Smasher that's in Harley's hand here.
Sean's going to fetch it during his upkeep. Doesn't want those rituals that he put back on top because he can't cast them.
Yeah.
Well, profitably.
He's just looking for a way to get a creature in graveyard. Well, looking for a way to do something with this graveyard or a way to answer this onboard chalice. And it looks like he doesn't have either of those things right now.
All right. Our chat's asking, any lone player in the tournament? We do have Maverick later on. I'm usually the lone player of the bunch, but it's usually not great for us to have both Maverick and Loam because the decks are very, very similar.
Yeah.
So maybe on another night when we do Legacy, I'll boot Connor out and finally play some Loam.
Yeah, unfortunately not going to have any Loam tonight, but we will be having, like he said, some Maverick, Sneak Attack, Aluren, Rug Delver, and then the 2 decks you see in play now. So it'll be interesting enough even without our lovable lands cards.
All right. Sean's going to start off with a Cabal Ritual.
Yep, and that is with active Threshold, making him gain 5 mana. He's going to cast 2 LADs. And he has access to 13 mana here.
Okay. It's going to go down to 2 black mana.
Casting a Mastermind's Acquisition.
Not yet popping the LEDs, though. He's instead searching his deck. I forgot about that. Like, he doesn't necessarily have to have the answer in his sideboard, because he can also just Demonic Tutor. Or Diabolic Tutor, I should say.
It looks like he moved a Cabal Ritual to his sideboard here. It's actually interesting to see.
Oh, no, he just searched his deck instead of his sideboard.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It can tutor your deck. That's something
as I was
forgot
saying,
about.
it can also just Diabolic Tutor.
I kind of forgot that, you know, it's a wish that can do more than wish. All right.
Okay.
And that should just be lethal here.
Yeah, Sean was just able to work through that chalice.
Yep. Using the fact that his Cabal Rituals are very strong by themselves, and then the Lion's Eye Diamonds as another way to produce mana, he's able to just get the mana and storm he needs to kill Harley even through that little bit of disruption we have here.
All right. So Sean gets it 2-1, and we're moving on to match number 2.
Yep. Go and pull up what exactly we're going to be seeing next. So it looks like next round we're going to be seeing Sean again, only this time he's going to be playing against Alex, who is going to be playing Rug Delver. And let me go and pull up the Rug Delver list. Since we've already seen the Tin Fins list, we can just start by looking at this real quick.
Okay. So this is going to look like your pre-Deathrite Shaman Rug Delver list.
Yep.
Welcome back, Stifle. We're going to see plenty of Stifle, Wasteland, and the Goose. The Goose is loose.
Yeah,
He's back.
Our boy the Goose is back. Your favorite 1-mana 3/3 Shroud creature coming to wreak havoc again. And yeah, like you said, this deck really hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just now kind of one of the more optimal Delver builds, since we don't have access to Toxin Probe to fuel our Young Pyromancers and Grimog Anglers, and we don't have Deathrite Shaman to be busted.
Yep. Just your usual 12 creature suite. You don't want any more because you want as many spells as possible to fill up your graveyard. Total of 8 fetches to also help get you the threshold. And Goose and Tarmogoyf work together. They're buddies.
Yep.
One wants a big graveyard, the other wants a diverse graveyard. So.
And as you can see with this deck is just chock full of interaction in the form of, for creatures, you have 6 creature removal spells, and then you have 2 Spell Snares, 2 Spell Pierces, 4 Stifles, 4 Dazes, and 4 Force of Wills.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of stop walls going on to what all the opponent's trying to do.
Yeah, which are all going to be very good against Sean. Sean is trying to be quick, utilize all of his mana, and try to put out a reanimation threat or storm off, and Alex is just going to be able to trip him up along the way.
Yeah, and hopefully he won't have any issues doing that. So.
All right, so let's head down to the match. You guys are good to start whenever. I definitely feel this is a match where Rug Delver is favored.
Yeah, I have to feel that a lot of times with all the disruption that Alex has, it's going to be hard for Sean to pull out a quick win. And he also is able to just pull on a quick enough clock in combination with his Delvers and his Tarmogoyfs and his Nimble Mongooses to just kind of kill Sean quickly while keeping up the disruption.
Mm-hmm. I tell you, I'm not a blue mage, but I love my Stifle Wasteland.
Yeah, there's a certain type of special feeling about you get from stifling your opponent's fetch lands, and then for the fetch lands they do resolve, just killing them off with Wasteland, just kind of preventing them from actually playing the game. It feels good for you, not great for them.
All right, so Sean passes it back over to Alex. On Alex's second turn, he's going to cast a Brainstorm.
Now it looks like Alex is going to pick up a Spell Snare here to possibly counter any 2-drops that Sean could have.
In addition to the Spell Pierce that he already has.
Yeah.
So.
Though it looks like he might be considering tapping on his turn and kind of leaving himself open, but instead he's going to crack his fetch now and not leave himself open to Sean doing anything instant speed, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. He definitely doesn't want to put himself in a situation where Sean's able to just respond to Alex fetching.
Yeah. And it looks like Sean's just going to fire for Thoughtseize here. I imagine that Alex is just going to throw a Spell Pierce down at that, but it looks like he's going to have to just hold up the removal, since he's fine with something mean taken from his hand, and if he taps out, there's a chance he's just dead.
Mm-hmm. All right. I don't know how much those Stifles are going to do right now. Like if Sean puts it down a Grizzlebrand, Alex is able to stop one of those, but...
Now, it looks like Sean was able to get the 1-2 punch of casting a Thoughtseize to take the Spell Pierce, and then using the using his 1-up Cabal Therapy to take care of the 2 Stifles. And Alex is able to top deck a threat, but he only has 1 piece of disruption in his hand right now, and Sean has a handful of cards right now.
Mm-hmm. All right. Sean's brainstorming, trying to figure out how he wants to proceed here. But yeah, it's kind of safe for Sean.
Yep. Now, Alex is going to pick up a Brainstorm here. This is going to be a little bit of card advantage for him. And it's going to flip this Delver, so that way it becomes more of an actual threat.
Alex deciding to pass, decides not to play a land. I feel like he's probably in a situation right now where he would like the extra card more than playing out that land and shuffling.
Yeah. Now, I do have to wonder exactly how much you value the Wasteland here. From my perspective, it seems like when they're at 3 mana, going for the Wasteland and then hoping to Brainstorm into a Stifle is a bit of a greedy play. And if you don't hit the Stifle, it just feels like keeping them on 2 mana isn't doing all that much for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, I'm not a fan of this play at all.
So it was wastelanding the fetch land and then stifling it in response?
No, okay. We were just doing things in order. So Sean cast a brain. Alex used the Wasteland. Sean cast a Brainstorm. Then Alex stifled the fetch land activation, I suppose.
Okay. That makes more sense.
I still think it was kind of greedy, but
Keeping Sean off some mana definitely doesn't hurt.
it doesn't hurt.
Especially if Alex doesn't really have much interaction right now.
No. Yeah.
Like, if he can't do anything else, at least try to cut Sean off mana
Mm-hmm.
so he can't go off.
Oh. Well, that is awkward. Sorry about that. The round timer kind of got messed up. And I don't know how to fix there.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
They're not going to use all their time.
God, nope, that's not it.
Nope.
Not. That's fine. That's fine. Oops.
All right. Sean's still in the tank, trying to figure out this this ponder.
He is. Really thinking Auber.
Alex has a reasonable clock here, so Sean needs to decide how he's going to try to finish this game off.
Yeah, he currently has Sean on a 4-turn clock here, and if he draws in something like a Lightning Bolt, he can turn that into a 3-turn clock.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like the last card in Alex's hand is a Brainstorm, I think.
It could also put Sean in an awkward position where, since he's so low on lands, he might need to fetch.
Yeah.
And that's just going to remove another turn from Alex's clock on him.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Finally makes decision. Draws his card off Ponder. And Thoughtseize.
Now, Thoughtseize
that'll remove a turn.
So that Thoughtseize takes 1 turn off of his off of Alex's clock here and puts Sean in more of a dire situation. For sure, but it might clear the way for him to win the game this turn.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like he took the Ponder, and Alex still has that Brainstorm in hand.
I thought that... No, I think that he just drew a card for turn. And he has a Spell Snare in hand, yeah?
Mm.
Alright. So yeah, it looks like what happened was that he only had a fetch land. Okay. And Sean just gonna scoop up here. He's at 2 life. His hand doesn't have a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he's gonna have a hard time, with the way his deck functions, he's gonna have a hard time winning the game at 2 life.
Okay. Let's head on over to Sean's sideboard then.
Alrighty then. Here we are with Sean's sideboard. And what would you expect to see him bring in here?
So here, I like the Flusterstorms as a good way to counteract any of Alex's counter magic.
Yes.
Besides that, so since you're a Storm player, what type of matches do you bring in Carpet of Flowers?
So Carpet of Flowers is for things kind of like the more mid-rangey or controlling blue decks like Miracles,
Mm-hmm.
or kind of like the 3-color good decks that we're seeing less of now but are still kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
I would be tempted to bring in the Carpet Flowers against a non-Stifle Wasteland deck, but I'm not sure if I'll be bringing it in against a deck that has access to Stifles and Wastelands and just so many ways to make it kind of awkward on you, and they operate on less mana, importantly. Mm-hmm. So you might be gaining 1 or 2 mana per main phase with Carpet of Flowers, but I'm not sure if it's worth it. Though, being as how your deck functions, you might have to just bring that in as just a way to kind of give yourself that little bit of mana back from what the opponent's denying you.
Okay. Do you see anything else in here that would be worthwhile?
Not particularly. When I was playing a Nauseam Storm, I would occasionally bring in Abrupt Gaze or Fatal Pushes in this matchup, just as a way of kind of slowing down what the opponent's doing. But I don't think that you need to do that with this deck.
Okay. Let's head on over to Alex's deck now. Take a look at that sideboard.
Alright, now from this sideboard, we're going to see probably a lot more things that are relevant. We have Fluster Storms as a way of just countering what the opponent's doing. We have Grafdigger's Cage to prevent any graveyard shenanigans, as well as Surgical Extractions to once again prevent graveyard shenanigans. Beyond that, I don't see a ton much else that you really need to bring in here or want to bring in here.
No. Those all seem good.
As for cuts, you can definitely cut that Dismember. That Fork Bolt's not looking great. And then you can cut down on some number of Lightning Bolts as you want to leave yourself with an adequate amount of counter spells. And your Stifles seem probably better than the Lightning Bolts, but I could be wrong here. That additional clock could be more important.
Mm-hmm. Something to note in Sean's sideboard is he's running 2 Silent Gravestones and a Ground Seal, which it's good because it shuts off something like Surgical Extraction.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's bad because... No. That's why he's running it. Okay, it finally clicked. The reanimation spells he's using just say the top creature of his graveyard.
Yes.
So he's able to use those through the Silent Gravestone.
So he's able to play Graveyard Hate, Universal Graveyard Hate that doesn't actually hate his graveyard and in fact helps him from cards like Very Macabre, Surgical Extraction, and cards of that like. So
I wonder if this is a matchup where he waits to see if Surgical is brought in, and then in Game 3 he might decide to bring in some amount of Silent Gravestones.
that might be something worth considering. It's just a way of counteracting the Surgical, since this deck does seem... Sean's deck seems like it might have a hard time with that.
Okay. Let's head back down.
It looks like we're seeing Sean in another mole again here.
You guys can start whenever. All right. For anybody just tuning in, we're here every Tuesday night, 7:30. This week we're playing a little Legacy.
Yep.
But you'll see a few different things from week to week. All right. So Sean off to a fast start. Lotus Petal into Cabal Ritual, into Entomb, into...
And to Shallow Grave?
Shallow Grave, thank you. Sean keeps calling it its Spanish name, Flesh's Grab.
Okay.
And I keep wanting to say that. And I know our viewers would be like, I don't know what that card is.
Now, one thing of note is, one thing that a lot of people talk about is whether or not you want to counter the reanimation spell or counter the Entomb from the Tin Fin style deck. There isn't necessarily a correct answer. It's just something that a lot of people do kind of think over, which one do I go for? A lot of times I'll just counter the Entomb, as that's one of the best ways of putting a creature in the graveyard. But countering the reanimation spell also gets another resource out of your opponent's hand, so that is one thing to consider.
Yeah, they have less Entombs than they do reanimation spells.
Yes.
So do you think it's just a lower chance that they'll be able to hit another Entomb or way to discard versus, well, let me put you down a card and hope you don't have another reanimation spell right now? All right. And Alex is onto a quick flip Delver plus a Tarmogoyf. And Sean's graveyard is definitely helping out that Tarmogoyf.
Yeah. Sean is in a pretty bad position right now. He's on a 3-turn clock, though 1 Lightning Bolt turns to enter a 2-turn clock. And once he's on to 3 life, he's once going to have a hard time winning through drawing cards with his Griselbrand. And we do see that Alex is at the minimum holding a Power Blast, and I can't make out anything else in his hand.
I believe he also has a Spell Pierce.
Power Blast, Spell Pierce is certainly going to make it hard for Sean to do anything in the remaining turns he has.
And a Brainstorm, it looks like. All right. Sean getting his Bayou.
Now, I do see a Thoughtseize in his hand, and if he casts this Thoughtseize and isn't able to do anything to follow it up, then it's going to leave him dead in 2 turns, but it looks like instead he's just going to go for Collective Brutality to duress the opponent, I'm assuming. and it's going to be Met Basketball Beers.
All right. So the next question is, does Sean just go ahead and follow this up with the Thoughtseize?
I think that...
Like, he's on a 2-turn clock either way. There's 8 power on the board.
Yeah. Yep. There's 8 power on play, so he's going to have to untap and find a way to win, and he's just going to hold that Thoughtseize because most of the things that allow him to win the game cost 2 mana.
Yeah, but he does have 2 reanimation spells that do cost 3.
Yep. Well, looks like it didn't matter.
Yeah, the Grafdigger's Cage just kind of made Sean run out of win cons there.
Yep. Sean just kind of unfortunately meeting his into a quick clock plus an adequate amount of disruption here. So it looks like now we're going to see Alex move on to playing against Corey, who will be playing Aluren. Now, Aluren being a bit of a weird combo deck that a lot of people don't have a ton of experience playing against or playing with, and can sometimes get wins solely off of that fact. And what?
I couldn't tell if this was scrolled all the way down.
It's super scrolled down. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's take a look at Aluren a little bit. So Aluren's a very interesting card. It's a 4-mana enchantment, and it states that players...
I'm actually going to pull this up real quick because it's... You continue explaining it, but
Sure.
it'd probably be good to have it open.
Players can cast creature cards of CMC 3 or less as though they had flash and without paying their mana costs. This is the main card that allows Aluren to just combo off.
Yep. Now, the combo being that you have a card named Cavern Harpy. It's a 2-mana, 2/1 that when it enters the battlefield, you have to return another blue or black creature to your hand, and you can pay 1 life to return it to your hand.
Well, to clarify, just return a blue or black creature, meaning if you don't have another one,
It
you
has
do
to
have to
return
return itself.
Yes. Now, you use that in combination with Parasitic Strix here, and basically what it allows you to do is every time Parasitic Strix enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and your opponent loses 2 life. So every time you do this loop of bouncing the Cavern Harpy and playing the Parasitic Strix, you're net gaining 1 and your opponent's net losing 2.
Mm-hmm.
And being as you have the Aluren in play, you can do it for free.
Yeah. A little cool trick that I found out last time Corey was playing is you can cast the Cavern Harpy first.
And you hold priority with the trigger on the stack, then you cast the Parasitic Strix.
Yep.
This means that if the opponent has no disruption, your combo will go off like normal. But if they do have disruption, you can return the Cavern Harpy to your hand in response to the disruption, play it again, and pick up the Parasitic Strix.
Yep. Other than that, the deck has a lot of card advantage and redundancy.
Mm-hmm.
You have Baleful Strix and Charlotte's Agent, which are just kind of cantrips for you. Charlotte's Agent allowing you to cast something for free.
Yep.
You have a couple Glintnet Cranes that can dig for Baleful Strix, Charlotte's Agent, and Parasitic Strix.
Yep.
You got your Brainstorms, your Ponders, a Sylvan Library to just help you dig for the pieces. Force of Will, and this one's new to me, but it's taking the place of Deathrite Shaman right now, which is Elvish Spirit Guide, I guess to try and combo off a little bit faster.
So Corey's been messing around with this list. He's not for sure how well it can function after losing Deathrite Shaman, as Deathrite Shaman was a huge blow to the deck.
Mm-hmm.
But he's trying the Elvish Spirit Guide in there as kind of just an additional way to get the opponent when they think that they might be alive for 1 more additional turn than they have. And it just essentially gives them that 1 free mana that they might not be expecting. And if you have 2, you can play Aluren as soon as turn 2.
Mm-hmm.
And one other card I don't think I heard you mention is this deck is running 2 Leovolds. I don't know if you mentioned that, but that card...
I was about to.
Okay.
Yeah, that card is just powerhouse itself, especially against something like Rug. If you're able to get it out fast,
Yes.
Rug is targeting you with their Wastelands, with their Bolts.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically just card draw for you.
Now, you are a deck that is kind of mana hungry, so the plan of Stifles and the plan of Wastelands is not bad against you, and the counter spells can hurt. But I feel like that you are going to end up being slightly favored against the Delver style decks because you can just play this backup Shardless plan, and you are running 3 basic lands in your deck,
which is not typical for Legacy.
Yeah, especially in a deck that you're just being so proactive. Like in Miracles, sure, whatever, you have 9 basics, but in this type of deck, it's not very common.
Okay, so let's head back down. You guys can start whenever. All right. And it looks like Corey's mulliganing down.
Yeah. And one other thing of note is Corey's... Oh. Boy, that's going to be a thing I keep forgetting, isn't it? And that, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Corey relevantly has been testing more 10 fins than anything else recently.
Mm-hmm.
But being a Sean wants to play 10 fins, he has decided to go back to his tried and true Aluren, albeit slightly changed since the bannings.
Okay. And it looks like Corey's on the play.
And he's just going to start on a fetch land pass now. Corey has no way of knowing this, being as he's theoretically in the blind here. But a lot of times, it won't be uncommon to see, once you know your opponent's on Ruggover, cracking your fetch land for one of your basics, sorcery speed, if your opponent has no mana.
Mm-hmm.
Just that way, you're able to guarantee having a land in play. And it looks like Corey, still up to this point, could realistically think that his opponent is on something like Sneak and Show, being as Volk Ponder is kind of just a play that's not linked to any one deck.
Okay. Corey is going to maybe.
Looks like he's going to crack this, probably get a blue X duel, and then cast that Brainstorm in his hand.
Mm-hmm. I think knowing that you're playing against... Okay. So he's just going to go ahead and fetch with both. So I think he's just going to decide to do the Glintless Crane play.
Okay. That makes sense as well.
Which is definitely better for this matchup.
Mm-hmm. It gets out a creature of some type. You have both of your fetch lands cracked, and you have 2 basics in play.
Mm-hmm.
So all this seems good. And also, at this point, Alex does not have any relevant permanent... Well, any threats in play. Try to refrain from using the phrase relevant.
Okay. As you may notice, Alex chose not to daze, and daze seems really bad against the Glintless Crane.
Yeah.
And Alex wants to have more than one land out right now.
Yeah, he wants to be able to kind of progress his own board, and isn't willing to do that just to counter a 1/3 that could theoretically find an artifact of some type.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's also a high enough chance that it just finds nothing.
Corey decides to go with the Baleful Strix over the Shardless Agent. It's a really good blocker for Delver.
Yeah.
And it still cantrips. It's also a good blocker for Tarmogoyf. It's a good blocker for just about everything.
Baleful Strix is a card that's just really good against this type of deck. It's able to block any creature they have, and it's able to trade for anything they have.
Okay. Corey debating about getting in the red zone. Yep, he's just going to ping Alex. I think this is a good spot where he should just go ahead and fetch for a black duel.
Yeah.
My question is he going to play around Daze and play the Baleful Strix, or is he going to put out the Leovold, in which will definitely get dazed?
So I think that he's in a safe enough position to just go for the Baleful Strix and continue to play around the Daze.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that he's under a ton of pressure to make his board that good with the Leovold, and there's no reason to not just blink more cards in your opponent's hand.
Yeah.
Although I do see him pulling it to the front of his hand.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
No, maybe.
See, Corey does this thing. They loves to trick us here in the booth.
Oh, nope, he's doing it.
He went for it.
He's dazed. And maybe he's fine with just eating that daze. Who knows? Yeah. Like, I personally like playing around the daze there.
Yeah.
I always just like not fueling my opponent's cards when I can.
Maybe it's also an adjustment to the format. Like, I think you're going to see some people get stifled and dazed because it's been a little while.
Yeah.
Not used to facing this deck.
Yeah. While it does run Delvers and it is blue, does have blue and red cards in it, it is significantly different than the Grixis decks that a lot of people have grown accustomed to playing against.
Mm-hmm. Now, what isn't great is Alex just picked up a Spell Snare, which is going to be able to deal with this Baleful Strix.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Corey, the way that Alex's draws lined up it just kind of punished the line that he took really hard. And now we're also going to see that Tarmogoyf go to a 5/6.
Yeah.
Because there will be an artifact in the graveyard. And now it looks like Corey's not really working with too much in his hand here, and he doesn't have a fourth land. So even if he found the Allure, he wouldn't be able to cast it. And he's facing down a certainly quick clock.
Yeah. Alex also has Force of Will in hand and that other Daze.
And he also picked up a Bolt here, which is an additional way of fueling his clock or disrupting any creatures Corey could possibly have. It looks like this is...
Alex needs to kind of settle down with that shuffling before he starts dropping his cards.
He's just going to kind of throw them everywhere. It's fine.
Yep, we're in game 1 of round 3 right now.
Yep. I had to make sure that we weren't actually in round 4.
No, everything's good.
Everything's good. I didn't mess up yet. Well, I did mess up. I fixed it.
All right. And yeah, Alex cutting Corey off of his black source is going to make it a little bit more difficult. He does have a Brainstorm and a Ponder. Try to dig back into this.
Yeah.
Start off with that Ponder.
Though right now, this game is kind of going exactly how Alex wants to go with his Rug Delver list. He's successfully denying any resources the opponent has, while also just keeping them under the thumb of his pressure.
Yeah. And something as simple as playing the Baleful Strix before the Leovold could have turned things around here.
Yeah. The only problem being that the Bolt / the Forked Bolt that I believe he shuffled away at one point would have been able to cleanly handle it, but it certainly would have given him a better chance of getting through this. And if he had resolved that Leovold, he might be in a lot better position than he is right now.
All right. Corey did end up drawing a land, which he's probably going to have to fetch for Underground Sea here.
Yeah, fetching for an Underground Sea or a Bayou here, so that way he has access to double green, might be something that he has to do. But it looks like he's just going to pass over here and allow Alex to draw his card for turn.
All right. Corey decides to chump block with his Gluttonous Crane because he doesn't want to take 5. But Alex has lethal for the next turn.
Yeah, Alex should have more than Threshold, and that puts his total power to 8 in play. So Corey's going to need to deploy something here.
Well, even if Corey just deploys one creature and blocks that Tarmogoyf, Alex still has, well, had 5 points of burn in hand. So he still has the Bolt, and Corey would have to be able to take out one of these creatures and block the other one.
Yeah, he's in pretty dire straits, and I don't think there's a high chance of him getting out of this situation. So I think that we're going to see Alex taking this game 1.
Yeah, he's got a couple counter spells.
Counter spells aren't doing a lot when you're facing down 8 damage.
Yeah. You counter that Bolt. Try to find a blocker.
Like, yeah. He doesn't know about the Bolt that I'm aware of, but yeah, that Bolt kind of just pushes any chance he has out of them.
You have to just assume they have the Bolt.
Yeah, especially seeing how Alex just kind of like threw that Forked Bolt out. It kind of leads me to think that he might have access to another burn spell in hand. But Corey's going to try something. Ooh, he's fetching, and he's going to basic land.
Corey needs Tarmogoyf of his own right now.
Yeah, Tarmogoyf of his own would actually not keep him alive, but it would block.
Right. There's Baleful Strix.
Baleful Strix here. So Alex has a Daze and a Force in hand. It looks like he's going to force that. Now, Corey is going to force it back, putting himself to under 4 life. But Alex has the Lightning Bolt to kill this Baleful Strix. So, Corey
doesn't even need to kill the Baleful Strix. He just points it at Corey.
Yeah, like, he has the win.
Yep. All right. Corey's down to 1. Alex is going to Bolt.
Yep.
And we are on to game 2.
Alrighty then. I guess we'll go and start off with the Delver deck, since that seems like a little bit more straightforward to talk about the sideboarding here. I'm going to go ahead and
Okay.
poop that.
So for Alex, Um, so we can bring in the Pyroblasts. It deals with a good portion of Corey's creatures. It deals with the Brainstorm. Well, rarely do you hit the Brainstorms, but it deals with the Force of Wills.
Yep.
Any other type of counter magic they might bring in.
One card that I'm looking at is Submerge. Looks like a card that could be pretty good here. Corey runs a decent amount of Forest, and just an instant speed way to remove a creature from the board. Seems pretty strong here.
What are your thoughts on the... Well, let's see. Rough only hits creatures without flying, right?
Yeah.
So it still hits a few creatures of Corey's, but like the combo ones are going to be flyers.
So I think the problem with this card is that since the deck no longer has Deathrite Shaman, you really don't care about a lot of the non-flying creatures, because all you can really hit is Leovold doesn't die to it, and the other non-flyer he has is the Shardless Agent, and if you count the Elvish Spirit Guide.
I do like the Sylvan Library here.
Yeah.
The match can get a little grindy, and this allows you to get some card selection or card draw. Corey is rarely putting a lot of pressure on him, so you could easily take 4 a couple times off Sylvan Library.
I also want mounting something like Possibly Liberates or the True Name Nemesis as removal or as a resilient threat, but I'm not sure if you need to bring either of those in. I know for sure you want to bring in, most likely you want to bring in the Smurge, you want to bring in the Sylvan Library, and I'm not for sure about what you need to bring in beyond that. And then switching over to the Lurin side. There we go. APANIYAM. I can't say her name today. I'm sorry. I can't speak.
So
Right.
I do have to disagree with chat on Surgicals.
Okay.
So Aloran is not a graveyard-style deck. The idea of bringing in the Surgicals, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers have heard me in previous streams as well, you want that against dedicated graveyard decks.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to snipe your opponent out of just one of their cards, especially with Corey's deck that can just run as a value-style deck. If you cut off the combo, they can still win.
So basically, and one other thing to consider, especially in this type of matchup, a lot of the games are going to be end up being more value-based matchups, and Surgical Extraction is anti-value. You're essentially losing a card to take a card out of the opponent's deck. And seeing as Corey doesn't have any reanimation spells, so you're not really denying him any value off of his graveyard. And you don't care that much about taking the Lurin out of their deck, because even if you take the Lurin out of the deck, they can still beat you out playing Shardless Agents, Leovolds, Baleful Strixus, and things like that. But without going too much into that conversation, as I think it's one we've had before, we'll talk about the sideboards. I like having access to the Meek Stones here. I like having access to the Abrupt Decays. I like the Umezawa's Jitte. And maybe there's a conversation for the Toxic Deluge, but I'm not sure on that.
I like the Deluge definitely better than Golgari Charm here.
Okay.
Because rarely will -1/-1 matter.
Yep.
You would have to either hit an unflipped Delver or a Mongoose before Threshold is hit.
Yeah.
I could definitely see more of an argument for Toxic Deluge because it will clean up both of those cards.
Yep.
Especially if Alex ends up bringing in any True Name Nemesis.
Yeah. And as far as things to cut, I think you can just cut your Elvish Spirit Guides here. I don't think this is a matchup you're trying to turbo out anything. I think you're just more fine playing that low to the ground mid-range game and just try to get them that way. So I think that's about all to say about sideboards.
Okay. You guys can start whenever.
And one thing to note is that is certainly something to keep in mind, and we will have to start changing our stream names to clarify that we are showing actual paper Magic as opposed to something like Moto or Arena. Yeah. And I'll agree. Surgical Extraction is a card for a bit of a hot topic when it comes to when to bring in and etc.
Okay. I'm going to start with Corey on a tropical island.
And
And unfortunately just doesn't have turn 1 play anymore without Deathrite Shaman.
yeah. I think that losing Deathrite Shaman hurts this deck a ton, and while it wasn't a very mainstream deck, it takes away one of your backup plans, because Deathrite Shaman in and of itself just enables this great backup mid-range plan, and it slows your deck down substantially. Also stretches your auto base. Like, Deathrite Showman did too much as a card.
And even something like Noble Hierarch isn't very good in this deck. Like, I think it could be better than Elvish Spirit Guide.
I think that something like that would be better, or even Birds, if you just want to have access to that black mana, because I don't know if you need the Learn effect, but like, the question becomes, are you willing to play a Mono Dork that's just a Mono Dork?
Oh man, so you play Birds of Paradise, and you get a Cavern or two in. He's got a ton of birds. And by a ton of birds, I mean he would have, what, 10 maybe?
So...
He would have Baleful Strix, he would have Birds Paradise.
And...
Oh, Parasitic and Glitness Crane. Okay, 12.
Yeah, he would have 12. Cavern Harpy, importantly, is a beast.
It's a beast? I thought it was type Harpy.
It's a beast.
Well, no. I want Oracle text here.
Okay, we're gonna pull up an Oracle text of Oh God. Harpy.
Can you just go to Scryfall? Okay. While Nathaniel's doing that, Alex has set up a pretty good board state here. He Force-willed Corey's Baleful Strix to make sure there wasn't a blocker for his Delvers. He already flipped one, and he just dispatched another one.
It's a Harpy beast.
Aha, it is a Harpy.
Alright, so came to that stunning revelation that Cavern Harpy is both a Harpy and a beast.
Cavern's a silly card sometimes. I've called Bird with my one Bird's Paradise Eldrazi deck. I've also called Kitchen Finks type on a couple occasions now against Burn.
I've seen...
Is it just called it Oomph?
I've personally seen you do these things. It's always hilarious to see these unconventional names off Cavern of Souls. I've personally never sleeved up a Cavern of Souls. I've certainly looked at it and been like, wow, could you stop that?
You're always on the other side of it. I'll admit, that card is just not fair, and it was definitely tuned to just deal with the standard metagame.
Yeah. So, we kind of got off track, but boy, this game's looking pretty not great for Corey.
Yeah, like, that Glitness Crane isn't doing much, and we're going to see that other Delver flip very soon.
Also, it looks like he left in his Elvish Spirit Guides, and I'm not a fan of that.
No, this is a value-style game.
And it kind of feeds into the one thing that I even said about when we were talking about sideboard cards. It's negative card value. You're losing a card to just give that slight little bump in mana. I don't think you care that much here.
All right. Yeah, Corey's in a awkward position right now. Like, he can dispatch the Cavern Harpy and return the Glitness Crane to replay the following turn, but being down on mana is putting him in a tough spot.
Yeah. I think that, unfortunately, Alex's Disruption plus Clock is just too much for him to handle here. And he even knows about that Bolt in hand, which kind of cuts down the options he could have left, and now he's going to have 2 flip Delvers in play here.
And that's 10 points of damage coming across this turn.
Yeah.
So Corey has to block, otherwise he's just dead.
Yep.
That's 13 points.
Yep. And now we're seeing it will actually be going up to 11 points when he attacks, because Tarmogoyf will be a 5/6 now.
Alex debating on his Ponder right now.
And it looks like he's just going to shuffle. It was probably one of those Ponders where he saw one card he wanted and then 2 cards that were kind of meh. And decided that he has a better chance of just drawing into more even of the line cards.
I think what he wants right now is another Bolt, if he can get one.
Yeah, another Bolt would be pretty good here. He has plenty of draws that just like make it even harder for his opponent to win. Land may not necessarily be one of them.
And Corey really needs like an Abrupt Decay right now to deal with the Tarmogoyf and just try to hold back that pressure.
Yeah.
But if he... Let's see. He does have one at the front of his hand, so I'm surprised I'm not seeing him snap that off on the Tarmogoyf.
So he's going to have to use that on the Tarmogoyf, and then he's going to have to work his way through the 2 Delvers, but they're certainly beatable.
I could see an argument where you go ahead and hit one of the Delvers with the Abrupt Decay and block the Tarmogoyf because you do have more guys on the ground.
Yeah.
Alex, thinking about countering that Abrupt Decay, decides it's better not to.
I think that he was thinking about casting the Brainstorm to find something to protect the Tarmogoyf, but there's nothing. Abrupt Decay just being a really good card against these Delver decks in the way that it's an uncounterable way to remove pretty much all of their threats unless for some reason they're running Hooting Mandrills in the Temur list or from the Grixis list, Gurmag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, the Crane right now is a valuable asset to him. Though the fact that he knows about the Lightning Bolt does kind of make things a little awkward for him here. As he knows he's not going to be able to pick that up if he just blind throws out an Aluren plus Cavern Harpy.
Yeah. Alex puts down another Tarmogoyf and passes. And Corey's still under a ton of pressure.
Yeah.
Like
and
this is the turn if he's going to do anything.
It looks like he has the Elvish Spirit Guide plus Aluren in hand, but is 1 mana off. He can certainly go in for a Shardless here by using the Elvish Spirit Guide and hope to hit his second Abrupt Decay. I think that would be about as ideal as he can go. Yeah, he's missed on lands for a couple turns now. Oop. Just kind of knock your graveyard over, it's fine.
All right. So while Corey's in the tank, just want to remind everybody that's just tuning in, you can find us here every Tuesday,
Yep.
7:30 p.m. We're usually streaming various Magic. This week, Legacy. Next week, probably Modern.
Probably Modern.
I think we'll go back to Modern. I know we're going to have Vintage coming up, probably sometime in the next month.
Yeah.
For anybody that's a fan of that.
So one thing I do want to importantly point out for Xandro in the chat there is that our weekly tournaments are more kind of done round robin style where we have each of the players play out 2 matches. Apen Yam, thank you for following. I'm sorry for probably mispronouncing your username. Opinium. Wow, that was so much easier than I made it. So anyways, so basically it's not so much as an official tournament as it's kind of a showcasing of each person within our tournament in air quotes is going to play 2 rounds on camera, and they have the whole commentary going on for them. It's not so much a high stakes tournament, it's just kind of a filmed testing session.
Yeah. And after we're done this match, we'll be heading back to the pairings, and you'll get to see what's coming up next.
Yeah. We do plan on at some point having kind of like on weekends that there aren't larger name streams having actual tournaments. But right now, this has the tournament feel from the stream perspective, but it's not so much an official tournament.
Mm-hmm. So moving back to the game, on Corey's last turn, he did pitch the Elvish Spirit Guide in order to cast his Shardless Agent, hitting a Baleful Strix and getting to draw a card off of it. So he did gunk up the board a bit, but it still looks like Alex is in a very good position here. He has a Bolt and Fork Bolt.
And that Fork Bolt's going to be real strong. He's going to be able to kill the Baleful Strix and deal 1 damage to Corey. And without the Baleful Strix, Corey doesn't really have any great blocks, and it looks like Alex may have almost forgot to do that.
Getting a little too hasty. You got to get the Death Toucher out of the way.
Yep. And now with that Death Toucher out of the way, we know Corey doesn't have any more lands in his hand, and he doesn't have the Spirit Guide to ramp out the Quick Aluren, so he's going to lose most of his board to stay alive, and then, the game is basically over here. I have to agree with you.
Yep. It puts Corey down to 3, so Alex's Bolt in hand is just going to be able to finish it.
Yeah, and Corey, even if Corey somehow managed to answer the board, he would be just stone cold dead to that ball. And Corey sees that and is going to go and scoop it up here.
So let's head back to the pairings. So we're going to be seeing Corey on Aluren again. And he's going to be playing against Ryan on Sneak and Show.
Yep, Sneak and Show being a deck that has seen some amount of success since the recent bannings. It's a deck that was powerful before then, and it's still powerful now. You're able to just kind of play out this consistent game plan, and you have some of the more powerful draws with Counter Magic back up in the format.
This is also a deck that some versions ran Gitaxian Probe, but isn't really hurt by the Gitaxian Probe banning.
Yeah, like there were very few lists ran it, and even the list that ran it, I don't think need it to be running it.
Hmm.
So this deck didn't really lose anything with the bannings, and actually I'm just going to pull it up here. We can kind of see that like its core is still strong.
Hmm.
And this list is on 2 omniscience. Some lists are running 0 omniscience, but a lot of times you'll be seeing 2 omniscience, 4 Grizzlebrands, 4 Emrakuls, 4 sneak attacks, 4 show and tells. It's just kind of ways of winning the game, and then you have brainstorms and ponders and preordains to draw you cards, and a few counter spells in there mixed in as well.
I've really liked the inclusion of Omniscience lately because it puts your opponent in a weird spot where they don't know if you're just going to go ahead and drop in the threat, which sometimes gives the opponent an extra turn, or just go ahead, jam Omniscience, and cast the Emrakul off of it, and then the game's pretty much just done there. Or being able to cast the Grizzlebrand off of it for free, dig for the Emrakul, and you have lethal there.
Yeah. So one thing of note is that, as chat had asked about, a lot of lists are now running the sideboard Arcane Artisan.
Mm-hmm.
This being, so there was kind of some last minute changes, and we had to make a substitution, and this Sneak and Show list isn't running that sideboard plan, though it does feel like the correct place to be right now.
Yeah, right after the first game, your opponent is siding out any of their removal spells, because for the most part, they're not going to be hitting Grizzlebrand or Emrakul with those removal spells. So Arcane Artisan is a way for them to bring it in,
Yep.
without having to cast their show and tell at all.
Yeah.
And you just decide to make a token. If you don't have your threat yet, it also allows you to dig. Some of the time, this Sneak and Show deck just loses to itself by not being able to get a threat again.
Yeah. Now, one thing of note is I did post Koi's list in the chat. There is that Koi hasn't been working on this list as much recently. He decided to just play at night, see how he felt about it. He's been more trying out 10 fins, but he hasn't dedicated all of his time to figuring out the guaranteed list, and there is certainly some room to change things since the bannings did change the deck enough so as you're going to have to kind of accommodate that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's all we really have to say about that. And with the matchup here being against Aluren, one awkward thing for him, we'll reset that, but did want to say thank you to Zyj with a Z and some numbers for the follow. It's always great to have more people getting there. And I think we're going to go and switch over to the game.
Yep. You guys can start whenever.
Boop. That should be everything. One thing I was going to say that I kind of lost my train of thought on is if you sneak attack sometimes from the Sneak and Show side against Aluren, you can sometimes lose on turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
Because they just part their Aluren in and win the game on your turn.
Yep. Yeah, show and tell can sometimes hurt. Definitely post sideboard, and yeah, as you said against Aluren, like, oops, I won.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I believe that there was a time not too long ago on a Legacy GP or Legacy Open, I think it was a Legacy Open, that exact play happened on turn 1, and it was a pretty solid moment.
I remember years and years back, there were a few Legacy players playing Battle of Wits. And there was an instance of they were playing against Sneak and Show, and they're like, all right, show and tell. And the opponent drops in their Battle of Wits, and they're like, okay, I won.
So
good game.
First, I would like to say thank you for the compliment, and we will try to keep up the commentary as it is going forward. And one other thing is there was also a tournament that was won by an Elves player.
Yes, Kenny Mayer.
Yeah. It was during a period where everyone was playing Sneak and Show, and he sideboarded some number of Emrakuls in a sideboard and would aggressively just mulligan for the Emrakul. So when the opponent cast the turn 1 Show and Tell, they just play an Emrakul and win the game.
One of the better sideboard choices for those Elves decks was Worldspine Worm. I didn't see too many play it, but it kind of works the same, where if they Show and Tell in, you have a Worldspine Worm, which can attack in, and they have to trade with their Emrakul, and it still puts worms.
And if they attack with the Emrakul, you still get your 6/6s.
You still get your 5/5s.
5/5s.
3 5/5s. but usually you're just able to win the game like that, and it's hard for them to deal with it.
Yeah. Lots of cute ways to kind of disrupt
And you
this
can
deck.
cast it consistently.
One thing we're seeing right
or,
now.
natural order.
One thing we're seeing right now is Miracle's list running Humility, because that's also a pretty good thing to counter the show and tell. Is you just put in Humility and all the creatures are just 1/1s.
All right. So Ryan is digging. I don't think he wants to keep those lands on top.
Oh,
Maybe he needs them.
Looks like he disagrees here.
So he has a sneak attack, he has a Grizzlebrand, and he does have a Spell Pierce and Flusterstorm.
It looks like he didn't have any more lands to cast the sneak attack, and it looks like right now that his current plan is just to throw out the sneak attack and hope to win the next turn, or to just hold up Counterspell Magic until he gets that 5th land and hope to win off of the sneak attack Grizzlebrand.
Mm-hmm.
Which, seeing as he has the land set up and he's not that worried about what the opponent's doing, he can certainly afford to just sit here and wait.
I think he just goes for it right here, puts it down. He still has the Force Will back up. Corey doesn't have many answers main board.
Yeah. Now, only problem being is if he doesn't know what the opponent's on, then that could change his thought process.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the opponent has 2 counter spells here, it would be awkward to lose your sneak attack when you have the Spell Pierce in hand, as well as the Force of Will, and the Flusterstorm. So I think that since the opponent has no pressure, he can afford to just wait another turn and guarantee it.
Do you remember what the 3rd land on top was? Is it a fetch land? Because that's going to allow him to both cast the sneak attack and activate it.
I believe that he has a fetch land on top.
Okay.
I can't say with 100%. I can't say for 100% sure that it is a fetch land, but I'm pretty sure I saw a Scalding Tarn.
Okay. All right. So Corey gets another Tropical Island. And doesn't have much going on right now. He does have Brainstorm to kind of dig him into whatever else he needs. Right now he really needs another counterspell.
Yeah, he is dangerously close to just being dead to the sneak attack.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing as the Sneak and Show list does run 4 Lotus Petals, there is a good enough chance that Ryan can just draw 14 cards and hit a Lotus Petal plus Emrakul to kill on that turn.
Yeah. You'll see them activate Grizzlebrand before combat a lot of times, be able to just do the 21 swing.
Yeah. There's no sense in giving your opponent an additional untap step when you have such a high probability of just... Well, not so much such a high probability, where you have some probability of just killing the opponent.
Corey finished mulling over his Brainstorm. He's going to fetch. Get that land that he put back on top.
I love that style play. It's one of my favorite things in Legacy to do. It's just Brainstorm, put something on top, or Ponder, see something on top, and then crack the fetch land, just throw the top card on the table and shuffle.
It's a lot better than fetching blind, and it's the top card anyways, but it's the last one you get to.
Oh man, that's the worst feeling. I've had that happen way too many times with playing Storm or Legacy, where I cast a tutor, I'm just looking at my deck, I'm like, I do have a Tendrils in my deck, right? And then I'm like, whoops, there it is. Top card.
Okay.
So, Glintinous Crane, not a bad card, but not going to do a lot in face of what is coming for him from Ryan's side.
And it is going to whiff.
Oh, but it looks like I was wrong, importantly, here. So...
It's important that you were wrong?
It's important for me that I was wrong.
All right. So Ryan's going to go ahead and play the sneak attack, going to 18.
Yep.
And this allows him to keep up 2 pieces of counter magic here.
Now, this does give Corey 1 turn to untap and attempt to do something or draw into some type of interaction which he has no main board interaction for. So, it gives him a chance to do something. Oh, and D-Sinks, thank you for the follow. Always great to see more people getting there.
Thank you for the follow. All right. Corey kind of in the tank. He's in a situation where he really needs that Aloran to try to go off, but he doesn't know that Ryan just has counter magic for everything right now.
Yeah. This entire situation just... From Corey's side, he's feeling a lot of pressure because he knows there's a good chance he's dead on the following turn.
Mm-hmm.
But he also knows that this deck is pretty much all counter spells and then combo pieces with some cantrips thrown in.
He could play that Elvish Spirit Guide.
He could do that, yes.
He could pitch 2 to a Spell Pierce.
He doesn't have a lot of great options. And this Baleful Strix isn't going to be enough.
Yeah. I don't think Ryan's going to counter that.
Ryan should not counter that.
Ryan, don't counter that.
No, don't do that.
There's no reason to counter that.
There's no reason. That was greedy.
No raisins.
It's like he's not going to get punished here, but like you don't care that much about it. Like, yeah, it's going to potentially block you from getting that 7 damage in, but
yeah, he got him. Got him good.
there is
Got that 1 point of damage. Brought him down to 17. It's going to make a difference.
now. One thing I will say, even though we're joking about like that being like a not necessary play, is that Stinker Show is a deck I just kind of recommend to people. If they can get the cards, it's a good kind of intro into Legacy, because even if you make plays that are slightly suboptimal like that one, you don't really get punished that hard. Like, your deck is just really strong and can kind of like afford to have... You don't need to be at 100% to win every single game.
Yeah. A lot of times you just jam it with this deck.
Yeah. And I'm not like insulting the deck or anything. I'm just saying that it kind of has that built-in... It's super resilient in what it does. And
okay. Ryan's going to Spell Pierce the Ponder.
now, so I think that was also greedy once again, because it's very unlikely that this comes up, but I think that having access to that Spell Pierce on the turn that you're probably gonna go off.
Okay. So we're cringing a little here because Ryan can just go ahead, draw 7,
Yeah.
draw an additional 7, try to hit an Emrakul. He has a fetch in hand.
He
be able
doesn't-
to get another red source.
Yeah.
Just deploy an Emrakul and win this turn.
And he doesn't even necessarily have to take the full 14. He can just draw that 7. That 7 is free.
Yeah. And deploying that Emrakul, like, it wipes Corey's board. There's nothing Corey can do.
Yeah, like Corey's just
So,
that. So, and it looks like he's going
it
for
feels
the,
bad.
He's going for the main phase 2, draw 7.
He draws a couple Griselbrands.
Now, once again, we're going to go back to the thing that we were talking about, where like even if he makes some suboptimal plays, I don't think he still doesn't lose here.
Like, so what does he have? He has a Flusterstorm. Like, he does open himself up to losing now, depending on what Corey draws.
He does, yes. There's a possibility that he loses now. That is true. But right now, he can just play a Volcanic Island, and just kind of pass, leaving these 2 Griselbrands in hand. And he can use one to block and then use one to win the next turn.
Ryan's decided to put a couple lands back on top of his deck so he can fetch them out. Get a nice shuffle. It just
None of this feels good.
no, it doesn't.
Alright, you got that Lotus Petal, sure, man. Like, I think he should have held that, he should have just held the, Volk, or just played it. Because, like, you kind of want access to that red mana here, without cracking the Lotus Petal.
Well, he's able to still play that fetch for a turn.
Yeah, but, like, you take 1 less damage this way, and I don't also think you need to draw 7 on your turn.
I also don't know why he went ahead and put a couple cards back and then didn't fetch, knowing that it was lands on the top.
I mean, yeah, like, these are just, like, a couple suboptimal plays. And it looks like he's planning on casting a Show and Tell and putting in his Omniscience. I don't know that you need to.
I really feel like he's opening himself up to losing. Like, Corey can go ahead and put in a Lorn at this point
Yeah.
and win at instant speed.
Yeah, like, I feel like you've given your opponent chances that you didn't need to give them. And unfortunately for Corey, it looks like he doesn't really have the punish here.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like Ryan's trying to dig for the Emrakul.
Like, if you're just going in for the Emrakul, like, you're actually fine to just draw 7 more before you do that Brainstorm.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can play another Grizzlebrand, have it as a blocker, and then if you draw into the Emrakul, you just win the game. But now, by playing that Brainstorm, when you activate the Grizzlebrand, unless you crack that fetch, which I'm hoping he's going to crack that fetch. Yes. Yes. He cracked it.
And it's possible he still just whiffs here.
Yeah. He's going to be able to see 7 additional cards, and he can cast any cantrips he sees for free. But he does still need to hit, and he needs to hit an Emrakul.
He also kept those Volcanics in his hand instead of putting them back on top with that Brainstorm.
Yeah. There's just a lot of, like, slightly suboptimal things happening here. Really suboptimal things happening here. But it does happen on occasion where you just kind of mess up. Not so much mess up, but you missequence some things. And if you're not if you're watching the game and you're not playing the game, it's pretty obvious that, like, these are suboptimal plays. But when you're in the driver's seat, you may not notice that.
4, 5, 6, 7. Still no Emrakul. He does have a couple redraws, though.
Yeah.
For another Omniscience, Force of Will, Preordain. We might see him whiff.
I mean, he's going to shuffle. He should shuffle.
We could just see a situation where he whiffs, and then Corey just plays a Parasitic Strix.
Yeah.
It looks like he's decided to take the Preordain to put the couple cards on the bottom.
Wait. I'm confused as to what
Instead of
statement I'm being
drawing.
clarified on. Okay.
And he's going to play another Preordain. He's got a Brainstorm.
Sure, he's just going to keep drawing more cards, whatever.
All right,
Like, he's still alive.
He's still...
So long as he remembers he can cast this Grizzlebrand that's in hand.
Well, no, he can still just die to the Parasitic Strix, because it just drains him for 2.
Well, he has the Force Will. I'm sorry, Xandro. This is hard for all of us. If you just stick with us through these hard times.
We're here with you.
We are here in your darkest hour.
He can only Force a Will 1, remember? Oh, no, he's got an Omniscience. He doesn't have to pay the life.
He can just do whatever he wants. The second's great. You just can't get punished. He could not cast the Grizzlebrand here. It wouldn't even matter.
He does need to discard, though.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Pick out 7 cards. You're fine.
Maybe keep the Force of Wills.
Maybe. Probably doesn't matter. It matters a lot. Please, God, keep the Force of Wills.
He's been playing so risky right now. I want to see him just be like, nah. Okay, Corey's just going to scoop it up.
Okay. Thank you.
We're gonna head over to the sideboard. Let's bring up Corey's first.
We're just gonna pull up the.
Okay. So for Corey, we're definitely going to see a little Gilded Drake there. That seems like a good one. Try to steal an Emrakul.
Yeah, it's a neat little piece of tech. Golgari Charm being something that can destroy the Omniscience and the.
No.
Show and
No.
tell.
Omniscience.
Attack, I mean. Yep.
It's pronounced Omniscience.
And yes, they were definitely 4 Emrakuls in the deck.
Okay.
All right. Aside from that,
I like the Caracas.
Yeah, the Croc is good.
And
any talk for the Carpet of Flowers here?
It's the best 1-drop outside of Brainstorm and Ponder.
Sure.
It's also the only 1-drop outside of Brainstorm and Ponder.
All right, so
Like, it doesn't feel great, but man, I'm having a hard time justifying these Elvish Spirit Guides.
I'm having a hard time justifying them, but at the same time, what does Abrupt Decay do here?
Oh, Abrupt Decay doesn't do anything here.
Yeah.
Because you can easily bring those out, bringing in the Caracas, bringing in the Gilded Drake, bringing in the Golgari Charm.
Yeah. And even since you bring in the Caracas, you even have an argument that you can cut down on a land.
Yeah.
So All right, so let's go and swap on over to the other side here, which is
I like nom nom science.
Yeah, that's acceptable. Look at all these cards. All right, so importantly, this list, as we discussed earlier, does not have the newest tech in the form of the creature from the new set. What's the name of it?
Oh, Battle Bond?
Yeah, what's the name of the card?
Oh, Arcane Artisan.
Does not have Arcane Artisan. But without that, looking at the sideboard here, is there anything that you super like or that you want to cut from the main board?
Like from the sideboard, I like the Pyroblast. Same reason I gave when Alex was playing against Corey. Like it hits a bunch of his creatures. It also hits the little bit of counter magic that Corey has.
Yeah.
But besides that, like I'm not really seeing anything. Corey just doesn't have great ways to interact against this deck.
Mm-hmm. One other thing of note is that yes, it can destroy Arcane Artisan, but I was kind of saying that statement biased to the fact that he's not running it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, that's all I got.
yeah, there are a couple things you can cut here. It's gonna take out the forces for some reason. God, I hope not. All right, so let's just go and swap on over to this here and let them know that they are good to start whenever.
You can start whenever. All right. If you're just tuning in, you can find us here every Tuesday night, 7:30 at twitch.tv/mtggetthere.
Yes.
We're streaming some Legacy tonight. I think we decided we're going to do some Modern next week. And maybe a little Vintage sometime in the next month.
Yeah, definitely. Vintage is definitely something we have planned coming up. A good portion of our group plays Vintage. I used to play Vintage, but then I got sad about the Monastery Mentor restriction and the Gush restriction. I was like, why can't I have my busted blue card and white card?
All right. So it looks like Ryan is mulliganing down.
Yeah. Now, Corey is, as we said, he's doesn't have the best tools for dealing with this, but he can certainly win this matchup. He doesn't mind having an Allure in his opening hand, as it just kind of makes the opponent's show and tell much worse.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had Arcane Artisan, it would be reasonable for him to cut down on the show and tells, as they are kind of medium in this matchup.
All right. Ryan's got a really good hand there.
Yeah.
He's just got to turn to show and tell, Griselbrand, Emrakul, whatever he wants to do.
Yep, and he saw another Griselbrand on top there. Not surprised to see that hit the bottom.
Yep. And we see another show and tell, and a pass by Ryan. I think this is a game where Ryan just goes ahead and slams the show and tell.
Yep, and
slams the Emrakul.
Yep, hopes the opponent doesn't have anything, and then if they don't, he wins the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Ryan doesn't have any counter magic. He doesn't have any red mana for a sneak attack. Like if he draws a Lotus Petal off the top, I think you go ahead and just play the sneak attack off the show and tell,
Mm-hmm.
and then he has a follow-up show and tell if he doesn't draw another red mana.
Yeah.
Corey about to deploy something, maybe a Baleful Strix.
Ooh.
No, he's going to play a Leovold.
Okay. A Leovold would be pretty good if Ryan was more on the slower plan and didn't already have his enabler in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like we're just going to see him go for the show and tell. And for Corey's sake, I hope he has something good to put in. But I don't see an Allure in his hand.
Okay.
So
He's got some lands. He's got a Charlotte's Agent, which is not good to just slam in.
I think that he should... Show and tell allows you to put lands in, correct?
Yes.
I think he should put a land in because that gives him the out of drawing into the Allure in.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like... So, if he had put the land in, theoretically, he puts it on the Allure in, he casts the Charlotte's Agent, then he can hit a Cavern Harpy and try to win off of that.
Yeah, but Corey's definitely not in a good spot here.
No. Now, he does have a One of Gilded Drake in his deck at this point, so if he draws in that, that would be pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not seeing it in his top cards here. I feel like, unfortunately for Corey, we're just going to see him kind of get ran over here.
Yeah, like he needs to draw that Gilded Drake right off the top. Otherwise, he's not even going to have permanence.
This is correct, and it looks like he did not. Alright, yeah, I think that with that Brainstorm, Corey is pretty much out of outs. And
yeah, we finally see that Aloran, but it's just too late.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Corey, his deck just not cooperating with him very well, whereas his opponent's decks have all been firing on most, if not all, cylinders tonight. And it looks like Corey's just going to go and concede the game here. So now we're going to see Ryan on Sink and Show versus Connor on Maverick, having Sink and Show go against one of the more fair non-Force of Will decks in the format.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually going to go and pull up the Maverick list while I make the other changes, and you can kind of bring up anything that you might want to about this deck.
Okay. As Nathaniel said, it's a very fair deck. It likes to utilize its lands a little bit with Neither Reliquary. It also plays a few disruption effects, not nearly to the extent that Death and Taxes does, but it's got a couple Thalias, it has a Gaddock Teeg, it runs a few Mother Runes to give its creatures protection. It has a bit of a toolbox with Green Sun Zenith. It allows you to search up your knights late game, allows you to grab your Gaddock Teeg early if you're playing something a little combo oriented. You can also just cast it for 1 and go get your Dryad Arbor to basically give you a 1 mana Rampant Growth. Outside of that, you got a couple Sylvan Library, gives you some selection, sometimes some card draw. Ramunap Excavator, it allows you to rebuy some of your lands, whether it be trying to wasteland your opponent out. It could be rebuying anything that your Knight of the Reliquary had sacked, just so you don't miss your land drop. Outside of that, you got Bird's Noble Hierarch to do a little ramping. You got a couple Stoneforge Mystic with a Jit and a Sword of Fire and Ice, just to give you some advantage. Definitely much against creature decks. Like the Jit is very good.
Seems pretty legit.
He is running the one Runic Armasaur, which
allows
allows him. So when his opponent decides to pay 7 life and draw 7 cards, Connor gets 1 too.
Yeah,
it's fair. But
Got
a couple of the other toolbox cards hiding in there is you got 1 Scavenging Ooze main to help against any graveyard decks. You got a Qasali Pride Mage. Just deals with random stuff. Could be Ensnaring Bridge, could be, I don't know. Sometimes it's Sneak Attack.
Yeah, Sneak Attack. If you're lucky, an Omniscience.
Well, by the time it hits Omniscience, it's kind of too late.
It's probably not great for you.
You usually need that trigger off Reclamation Sage.
If you're lucky.
And a couple last notes. He does have a Crocus, in which he's able to search for. So if a show and tell happens and he puts in Neither Reliquary, he can just search that up.
Yep, Crocus being a good
and he also has Dark Depths combo with Thespian Stage. Neither Reliquary allowing him to search those up.
And from the sideboard, he does have access to Containment Priest and stuff like that for this matchup. So
a couple last cards, and there's just a lot of bullets in this list.
Yeah, there's a lot of individual cards.
He has Scrib Ranger that allows him to reutilize Mother Runes or Neither Reliquary on the same turn.
Yep.
And he does have 1 Council's Judgment. That's going to give him another answer to something like a Show and Tell Emrakul.
Yeah. So with all that, I think that the Sneak and Show list is going to be slightly favored here, but Connor certainly has room to take this. So we're going to go and swap on over them and see how this matchup goes.
I think the Runic Armasaur is cute. It's definitely his pet card. But if he was playing against Death and Taxes, that card seems really strong.
Yeah, against Death and Taxes specifically, it seems quite strong. Now
maybe it's more of a sideboard card to be able to deal with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little cute, but
I think it's a little too cute, but we'll see. I think we can go and let them know to start our way is.
You guys can start.
And for Connor's sake, I think that he really wants to win that die roll. It doesn't so much guarantee the match as it just gives him a better chance of being able to actually win the game. As if Ryan's able to play a turn 2 Show and Tell, he's going to have a hard time winning the game on the play.
And this start is going to allow Connor to deploy a Knight on turn 2.
Yep.
and allow him to search up a Karakas on turn 3.
Yep. Now, Ryan is going to have the sneak attack to sneak attack the show and tell to put in the Grizzlebrand on turn 2, in combination with the Ancient Tomb. But
he also has the Omniscience.
Oh, he has Omniscience. I missed that. That might be
Yes.
just game winning.
Because this is going to allow Ryan to just go ahead, show and tell in Omniscience, Grizzlebrand, draw a bunch of cards into your Emrakul to take an extra turn and just
Yep.
finish the game right
He has
there.
14 hits at winning the game, and within those 14 hits, he can also hit one of his 10 cantrips. And he just is put in a pretty hard-to-lose position if he gets that Omniscience in play.
I don't like this. I don't know why he's starting with a Brainstorm.
So, one thing of note, minor sequencing thing. He holds the Brainstorm here because he's going to be putting the Omniscience in play, and
Oh, I'm sorry. That was in a turn. My
Yeah.
apologies. I thought he was doing that during his second turn.
No,
Never mind.
So I'm actually gonna say that I still like holding it here, because if he's planning on going for Omniscience, Grizzlebrand, and trying to win the game, then he draws his 14 cards, and the Brainstorm gives him 3 more looks.
I agree.
Whereas now he's actually seeing the same amount of cards he would otherwise.
Okay. Ryan's going to pay 7 and draw 7.
Oh, there's
the
game.
Emrakul.
Yep, that was neat. That was a fun game.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. And we're on to game 2. Let's bring Connor's deck list back up.
Okay then. So, Magic is fun sometimes.
Yes. Okay. So, real quick, got a couple Containment Priests to be able to blank any Sneak Attack and Show and Tells.
Yep.
It does not deal with Omniscience, unfortunately, which Connor will want to bring in that Reclamation Sage for.
Yep, being able to put that in play and destroy it before the opponent can cast a Grizzlebrand or an Emrakul seems really strong.
I believe it's worth putting in the Mazavith. A lot of times it's not going to do too much, but there are games where just blanking a Grizzlebrand will make a difference.
Yep. I also, of course, like the Thoughtseizes.
Yes,
Ways
both
to disrupt the
Thoughtseizes.
hand. Always good. Now, if you believe that your opponent is on the plan of the new creature in sideboard, Abrupt Decay does have some merit to it. Swords Plowshares being a little medium, you can sometimes nab off a Grizzlebrand, but there's not a lot of times that it happens in a way that works well for you.
I think you're just going to be quick to pull out the Scavenging Ooze and the Runic Armasaur to put in the 2 Containment Priests. And I don't think Mother of Runes is going to be doing much for you either.
Yeah.
But neither is the Abrupt Decay that you have there. So I could see just taking out the 2 Abrupt Decay to put in a couple Thoughtseize, and maybe trim a Mother of Runes to put in 1 more Gaddock Teeg.
Yeah.
It just shuts off Force of Will, and it's just a body.
Yeah. And then from...
Oh, I'm sorry. And you want to cut another one for the Reclamation Sage, because in the case that they do show and tell in the Omniscience, like a lot of times your play is going to be, okay, let me go ahead and throw in the Sage, and maybe I get it.
Yeah.
Because they can't respond to that trigger except with instant speed stuff, so they're not going to be able to cast the
They're not going to be able to cast any of their big
Grizzlebrand,
creatures.
Emrakul. Yeah.
Sneak Attack even.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's about all the points hit on there. And then from Ryan's side in this creature matchup, I wouldn't mind seeing the Pyroclasms being brought in, and possibly the Braids as just a good way of killing any creatures / artifacts you might be worried about.
Mm-hmm.
And you can cut down on your Fluster Storms. Seem pretty medium here, and possibly cut down on your Spell Pierces. Probably cut down on your Spell Pierces and just bring in those pieces of creature interaction.
Yep. All
And-
seems fine.
All right. Well, I think that's really all we have to say there, and we'll switch on over. Also, oh, never mind. Chat already clarified what
start.
DDFT means. It means Doomsday Fetchland Tendrils. Don't play that deck.
I want to one night get Sean to play Doomsday. We'll give him the 40-page manual of what to do and let him use it on stream.
So, all right. I admittedly get a little bit more into the whole topic of discussion about why Doomsday Fetchland Tendrils is a bad deck.
Oh, we don't have Probe anymore.
We don't have
That
Probe. We
does
don't have
mess with
Top.
things.
We don't have the
Oh, we don't have Top either. Yeah.
the deck isn't.
Those are
The deck was barely functional with those cards, and it's
Mhm.
not functional without them.
Yeah. Man, that cuts out like 50% of its plays.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, also I just like, so Doomsday Fetchland Tendrils was a deck that like, it was kind of infamous for a while as being like the most complicated Legacy deck, but I I don't think it was. Like, you have these set piles. Once you learn the piles, it becomes like, oh, I have to play around this thing, yada yada yada. You're basically just playing Ad Nauseam Tendrils. J Green 40, thank you for the follow. It's always great to have someone else getting there. To continue. So you're basically playing Ad Nauseam Tendrils, as far as deck construction goes, but you're playing these like dumb cards that are less efficient and make your deck worse. And it's like, yeah, I'll have a harder time winning because my deck is worse, not because it's harder.
Well, it's kind of setting up like, hey, I'm going to win here, but the setup and the cards that I might hit beforehand to actually set everything up is just worse
Yeah, and it's like,
and less consistent.
it's also partial because like I've been on going a lot of different Legacy forums, and like, boy, are the Doomsday Fetchland players just not great to talk to.
I think it's just one of those decks that it's infamous.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily good.
Yeah.
All right.
Connor's
Connor's
on a
mulligan
mull
down
to
to
5. We see a hand of 1 land, a Mother of Runes, an Either Reliquary, and something else.
He's got a green sun, so he's going to be able to turn 1, go get a Dryad Arbor.
Yeah. I also did notice from Ryan's side he brought in at least 1 Blood Moon.
That
So it turns off the Karakas,
it does.
and it turns off the Karakas.
All right. I'm. Connor brought in the surgicals. No.
So
You bring in surgicals against the graveyard style decks. You don't try to just like snipe someone and be like, oh hey, maybe I'll have a Thoughtseize, get that exact card, and then rip it out of your deck because I had exactly these 2 cards together. And it's not like you don't have any other win cons in your deck that you could just do instead.
So we got a 2-point special of a rant from myself and then a rant from Kirby. Surgical Extraction not good in this matchup, so all jokes aside, for all the reasons Kirby listed, you don't want to be doing that. This deck doesn't care.
Look, I think the Blood Moon is somewhat reasonable.
The Blood Moon's fine.
It's like you definitely bring it in against like the Loam style decks and land style decks
Yeah.
to shut off the Karakas. So I can definitely understand the same reasoning.
Yeah, and like in this situation, if he plays the Blood Moon, then like Connor's board is gonna be looking kind of goofy. But it's not the most optimal thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly defensible, unlike the Surgical Extraction, which is just not defensible.
Yeah. I definitely think, Connor needs to slam down the Knight of the Reliquary right there.
And it's going to be met by a Force of Will, which I think is actually really reasonable from Ryan's side here.
Mm-hmm.
With Connor so low on cards, there's a good chance that Knight of the Reliquary is the only good thing he has going for him.
Like next turn, all he's going to be able to deploy is a Mother Runes with a Sylvan Library, unless he draws something good off the top.
And importantly for Ryan here, he will be of 2 next turn if he has another mana source. Play out a Blood Moon with at least 1 basic island. That, or he could just put and play that Griselbrand that's in his hand.
Yep. And this is definitely a correct move from Connor, playing out the Sylvan Library and keeping up the white source to Swords of Plowshares instead of playing the Mother of Runes.
Yep.
The Mother isn't going to do anything. You have to hedge your chances against a Griselbrand and just swords it on the spot.
Yeah.
It's never a great feeling, but it's kind of your only route here.
Now, from the side of Ryan, he is picking up the 3rd land he needs to cast that Show and Tell or to cast that Blood Moon. And seeing as Connor's not doing much, I almost like just deploying the Blood Moon here. I feel like it shuts down a lot of what the opponent could possibly have to counter you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're able to do it with 2 islands and only 1 land becoming a mountain. So your mana base doesn't hurt very much. And seeing as how we're fetching, I think that he's going to be going for that play.
Yeah. I think it's a little silly that he's getting the basic mountain, but
Whatever. I don't think it actually matters at this point. Like, all jokes aside, at this point they're all mountains.
yeah.
And they look good together. All right.
Technically, it's not affected by Blood Moon.
He did play around his own Blood Moon by getting a basic mountain.
All right.
And Connor just going
He
deep.
is taking 8. All right, he's got his basic forest, but
He can swing for 1, and he can't cast
Yep.
anything in his hand.
he's got a mountain creature.
Now, I do want to point out, I do like Connor's play here of being really aggressive with his Sylvan Library.
Mm-hmm.
Because he understands that his life total, he's going to die in one swing, and at this point he needs to aggressively find something.
What do you think about Ryan just deciding to pass here?
So,
He can't really do anything else this turn unless he were to hit a couple more petals.
yeah, I
So-
think that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, well, okay. Ryan gets that in quick 2-0 fashion, and it looks like we're going
Yeah.
down to the final round, which is going to be Connor versus Eldrazi Post. Now, this matchup, I feel like it's going to be slightly less skewed than the last game we saw,
Yeah.
but I do feel that there's a chance that the Eldrazi Post deck just goes over top of what Connor's trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay. You want to bring up Eldrazi Post real quick?
Yep, I
I'll,
for a
talk
second
a
forgot his
little.
name.
It's Harley.
It's Harley. I figured
It's
that
Harley.
out. All right. So if you want to go and talk about that for a minute.
Okay. This deck just plays very similar to the typical Eldrazi decks. You got a bunch of squids from Matter Shaper, Thought-Knot Seer, Reality Smasher, Endbringer. It also does have a couple top-end Ulamogs, and you have Honorary Squid, Walking Ballista.
Yep.
It's just a solid card. It deals with a lot of early hate creatures. You have your Eldrazi Temples. You have your few Ive Ugins. But instead of just going with Soul Lands, it also goes with Cloud Post and Glimmer Post. This is going to allow you to generate a ton of mana. It's going to be a couple extra turns sometimes, but once you're able to deploy a couple Cloud Post or that in combination with Vesuva, they're going to be producing 3 or more mana apiece.
Yeah. And this deck is just, it goes bigger than any deck in the format, really, without cheating things and say, of course, a deck like Sink and Show, like we just saw, goes over top of it with Grizzlerands and Emeralds and stuff like that. But this deck does it the honest way. It's hard casting Ulamog's, it's hard casting Ugins, it's hard casting all his dusts. And it's just kind of hoping that against the combo decks, it sees its Chalices and its Trinispheres to win the game.
Yeah, that's a big one. You're going to see some games where he's able to start off with Grin Monolith off of a Soul Land, allowing him to jump into Trinisphere, or just getting a Chalice on turn 1, which is a fine play.
Yeah, I feel like a fair deck like Maverick can certainly win this matchup, but boy, does it feel like an intimidating matchup to sit down like an intimidating deck to sit down in front of. So,
Okay.
all right, I think that we're good going to switch on over to the match.
You're good to start.
It looks like you're using the die roll feature on our life tracker, which is okay. What are they doing?
I don't think they're just doing high roll.
I don't understand what they're doing is the thing. All right, so they rolled a 7. What?
They are rolling an odd number of dice to see if the total is even or odd.
I hate them. And they're just gonna leave
I
it
I
up
had
to
like a
the-
10-minute argument with Sean that it didn't matter the number of dice you were using to have a 50-50% of the total being even or odd. And after all of that and him being convinced that he was correct, he decided to do the math himself.
How'd that go for him?
It is a 50-50 chance regardless of
Yeah.
how many dice.
Okay. Also, one other thing of note is that one of our players decided to change the color of their life total. So that looks weird. We can't. It's yeah.
Can you change the color of your life total back?
Okay. So they
Thank
fix
you.
it now.
You can start. You can start, please.
Alrighty then. Alright, so Connor looking at a 1 land hand here, and it looks like he's keeping it. What? So Connor almost just
Connor-
kind of passed without doing anything. The pro
Alright.
play.
And neither of them have a turn 1 play.
It looks like Connor decided to turn 2 greens on Zenith on 1. I mean 0.
Yep. That's not a great start.
Nope.
And
it
we're
is
going to
not.
see Connor's hand here. Look at Runic Armasaur doing nothing.
Look at his handful of 3 drops.
That's... I think that Swords of Plowshares is disappearing here.
Yeah. I think that's probably the only card. Like, you care a little bit about the Knight of the Reliquary, but he needs the additional mana to cast, and that Swords of Plowshare just gives him a decent little bit of value here, so he should probably take that. And he agrees.
Yep. All right. So Connor will be able to deploy a threat this turn. It might just be a Scavenging Ooze. I think he would slam that card down a little faster if it was a land.
It's Mother of Runes.
Ooh, boy.
That card's real bad in this matchup.
Yeah. If you want to know the first 3 cards you pull out.
Yeah. So Connor realizes it's a bad card and just throws that Mother underneath the 4/4. Picks up a
Okay.
land, and he's going to be able to deploy one of his assorted 3 drops.
Like, I'm guessing in Knight of the Reliquary, it's going to be a 3/3, which isn't very exciting.
It's not, but it starts giving him the ability to cycle through different
I-
lands.
You know, on second guess, I have a feeling he's going to put out the 2/5
Because it blocks.
because it's a dino.
Sure. So, if we play the Knight of the Reliquary,
Okay.
which is
All
what
right.
we're doing,
Correct play.
thankfully, next turn he can sacrifice one of his lands and, during combat, get a wasteland and make his Knight of the Reliquary 5/5.
Yep. And we're going to see... Oh, man. Harley's got a little bit of mana ramp there. He's got, looks like 2 Grim Monoliths, 2 Simian Spirit Guides. Oh, no. Oh, just 2 Mana Reshapers. It's still a lot of pressure.
That's actually really big for him right now.
Okay. So Connor's going to be able to put out another blocker and then start fetching to make his Nether Reliquary a bit larger. Unfortunately, Connor's Mazavith is in the sideboard, which
Yeah.
he's definitely going to bring in for this matchup.
Yeah, but I think that he's actually fine right now with what's currently going on. And
Okay.
looks like he's just going to opt to get that Stoneforge Mystic.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And he's going to hope to try to hit into...
His Batter Skull is also sideboard.
That's unfortunate for him.
Yes.
Yeah, getting the Jete because sort of Fire and Ice not at its strongest right now.
All right. Okay. Harley's going to put out a Grim Monolith and just... I think he just gets in there.
Yeah.
I don't see a reason not to. He will lose one of his threats, and Knight's going to be able to kill this Thought Knot Seer and draw him a card.
You
He's
will-
going to be taking... I'm
So-
guessing... Oh, man.
Connor can theoretically block and kill 2 threats if he wants to.
Which is really bad against these Matter Reshapers, because it just essentially draws Harley another card.
Okay, so it looks like instead of killing one of the Matter Shapers, he's instead gonna chump block one of them and then sacrifice the Dried Arbor to get a land.
Okay, that's good.
Now he needs to get this Wasteland here, so that way he can make the Knight of the Reliquary survive combat. And he cuts off a little bit of Harley's mana and gets to draw a card off of this interaction.
Yep. Now, Stoneforge is going to die, and Connor is left at 2 lands.
He's left at 2 lands. He has 1 additional card from all that, and he has a 5/5 in play. So it's not the end of the world for him, but he's still on the back foot.
Now, if a card is going to get him back in the game, it's going to be Knight of the Reliquary, though.
Yeah, Knight of the Reliquary is one of the strongest cards in his deck. And if I had to guess, we're just probably going to see a Runic Armasaur get thrown down here. If for nothing else other than a 2/5, and boy, that was a quick audio dip.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Connor just needs 1 more mana, and then he's going to be able to get the Jite out, in addition to equipping.
Yeah.
I'm going to decide to put out Skoos instead. So, what Connor can do here is he can block, he can eat his Dried Arbor from the graveyard, fetch, get another Wasteland, or no, not get another
Get
Wasteland.
another
You
green
get
land.
another green source, and then go ahead and eat Thought-Knot Seer, and that's
Yep.
going to give him a 4/4 ooze.
Yep, which will survive blocking any of these. So we can go through this combat, essentially only take 1 damage, and remove 2 Matter Shapers from the board. And it looks like Connor's going to... Connor sees this play available to him and just going to go and take that. And I think this is actually a pretty good turn for him to be taking.
Okay. So yeah, Connor might be back in this now.
Yeah, I think Connor's actually in a fine spot here, provided Harley doesn't hit anything off of these Matter Shapers or off of what he has currently in hand. And it looks like he might be able to do something because he has access to 9 mana here.
Yeah.
And with any additional land, he could even cast an Ulamog this turn.
Yeah, he's got 2 Grim Monoliths in hand still.
Yeah, so if he has an Ulamog, he can for sure cast it. But I don't think he has that.
He's got a Walking Ballista and an Endbringer right now.
Mm.
Now Harley's still at a pretty safe 20 life, too.
He is certainly not under very much pressure.
All right.
So he has the Endbringer in play. That card certainly not looking bad here. Let's see here. Oh,
It looks like Connor still hasn't drawn another land, so he's debating here if he wants to float mana, sack to get a land, and possibly equip that Jitte.
yeah. One thing of note is JSE 2016. Thank you for the follow. Always great to have someone else getting there. You know what? I had it pulled up.
He decides to just cancel his Judgment, the Endbringer.
Yeah.
So it's gone.
I have it brought up here. We can see why he cancels Judgment. That card has tons of text. It's really good right now, and by doing that, it's a huge tempo swing for Connor's side.
No. Connor's like, I do not have an Abrupt Decay. I just have a Birds. You didn't see anything. Yeah, Harley's still got a lot of mana.
Yeah.
Not a lot to do with it.
Like he certainly has top decks from this position, but
Like
he needs to find them soon.
he can make a 4/4 Walking Ballista this turn if he wants, and kill that Scavenging Ooze, which doesn't seem great.
Doesn't seem great, but at the same time, this may be one of your best chances to just snipe that.
He drew Trinisphere. I don't think that's doing him any good.
No, he doesn't want to cast the Trinisphere at this point.
I like just swinging in with Matter Shaper,
Yeah.
seeing if he can get Connor to block with the Scavenging Ooze here.
And if he does, then he's able to kill it with the remaining counter and then kill the bird as well.
Yes.
But instead, it looks like he's not going to do that.
Instead, he's going to play another Grim Monolith.
Sure. So he's going to instead just kind of take a slower approach and try to set up for something big next turn.
Yeah, I think Harley lost his chance by not swinging in there and trying to get some points of damage. Also, if Connor doesn't block, it puts him down to 4 and would have allowed Harley to just go ahead and deploy that Walking Ballista
kill
for
him.
4 and kill him.
Now,
But now Harley's in a really bad spot here.
6.
Yeah, Connor is able to gain some of that life back with his Scavenging Ooze
Yep.
and just...
And Harley's only able to deploy the Walking Ballista as a 6/6 on the following turn. Which is not that great for him. And that's a 6/6 only if he draws a land, I believe.
Yeah, he needs Ulamog right now.
Ulamog, all is dust.
Or All's Dust.
Ulamog would be the
Just-
better of the two, but
It is an Ulamog. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
He
9,
has
10,
more than
11,
enough
12,
mana.
13. Yep.
he can
Doesn't even need to tap that Ancient Tomb.
Nope. Luckily for him, he can do this all pain-free. He can exile the 2 relevant threats that Connor has in play and leaves
Yep.
him with the 10/10 in play. It's really good.
Yep. And Connor's going to gain a life back. And probably should have held on to that Council's Judgment.
Yeah.
I can definitely understand playing it. Like,
I-
Endbringer is a big threat
I
that
think
you
he
have
had
to deal with.
but it's not looking great for him now,
No.
and he's going to have to turn
Yep.
that Horizon Canopy in for a card here.
Yeah, that Dino doesn't look like it's doing much right now.
No, it's not.
It's really good against Walking Ballista, to be honest.
Oh, he's going to cast it. Oh, he casts...
Mm,
Mm.
okay. So it looks like Connor's trying to put enough pressure on the board.
To try to kill Harley after the attacks.
Yes.
But unfortunately for Connor here, he only has 3 damage in play.
Yeah.
And,
And now Harley gains a couple life. And
And-
Harley's just going to be able to finish it off with the Walking Ballista. Harley should probably just play the Walking Ballista pre-combat to take out the Dryad Arbor.
yeah. But Harley's not going to do that.
It's- He's just having too much fun.
Okay, so now the kind of unfortunate thing for Connor is right now he needs to draw into one of his remaining Swords Plowshares, and even if he draws it, that puts Harley at 16
Well,
life.
he already used... No, he did not use one this game.
So he has
So
2 left.
He has 2 left.
And
That was his only Council's Judgment.
yes, so he has exactly 2 outs to what's going on right now,
Yeah.
unless I'm missing something.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So he's going to play Ballista on 3.
And this kind of just gives him insurance as to what Connor could possibly do from this position.
All right. And I think Connor is hitting...
I think you should just crack.
Crack the Horizon Canopy, hope to draw Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah,
was
like
you're out.
Your Runic Armosaur is okay.
Well, he can still do that.
Sure, but like I feel like that's a weird sequencing thing.
Oh, okay. I understand what's going on. Connor is playing that now.
So that way he can't use the Walking Ballista without drawing him a bunch of cards.
Correct. It allows him to dig deeper to get the Swords to Plowshares. Connor still has a land drop in which he's able to do off of the Snake Dude there, which he should have done before playing the Armosaur, because now Connor can't draw a card.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we're on to game 2. Let's bring
We'll start with
Connor's deck up.
Okay, we'll start with Connor's deck.
Okay. So against Eldrazi, I really like the Mazavith here.
Yep.
I think Batterskull battles pretty well.
Yeah.
And I typically like Thoughtseize in this matchup because they're running some very large threats
Mhm.
that you don't necessarily have answers to all the time. You do have your few Swords to Plowshares and your Council's Judgment, but being able to rip out an All Is Dust, an Ulamog, an Endbringer from their hand is pretty valuable.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Reclamation Sage, seeing as the opponent is running Grim Monolith?
Usually they expend the Grim Monolith right away.
Yeah.
Trying to think what I do like it better than. We're going to be pulling out the 3 Mother Runes. We're probably going to be pulling out...
Is the Scrub Ranger a little too cute here?
I don't know that it's necessarily too cute. A couple activations off Neither Reliquary are
Oh
pretty
yeah,
strong.
with neither like Warrior can kind of go to town.
And I like keeping in the Gaddock Teague to play against All Is Dust.
Yes, that is actually a
So
very
I can
important
see
thing.
pulling out the 3 Mother Runes, putting in Batterskull, putting in a couple Thoughtseize, and I don't know, maybe pull Abrupt Decay out to put in Rex Sage if you do want another creature.
Sure.
But it's not a strong one.
Yeah. All right.
And you can just pull out a land for Mazavith.
Yeah. Seems straightforward enough. And from Harley's side, he has access to Ratchet Bombs and Dismembers, it looks like.
I would bring in Sorcerer's Spyglass in this matchup.
Oh yeah, because also Wasteland, Neither Reliquary,
Yes.
things like that.
Another Reliquary is going to be the big one there. I don't really like Leyline of the Void.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. I think
No.
it's not enough. Doesn't do enough.
Against a more Loam style deck,
Yeah.
I could definitely see bringing that in.
Against like aggro loam, you could see bringing that in.
But they're not playing. Connor's not playing Life from the Loams. He is playing the Crucible on a stick, which can get him a few lands back, but I don't think it does enough to warrant Leyline of the Void.
yeah.
The only other argument I can see is it does shrink Knight of the Reliquary.
Mm-hmm.
And once it gets so large, Harley doesn't have a lot of great answers for it.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the Dismember here to just interact with some of those creatures.
Yeah.
Be a bit better.
All right. Well, don't think we really need to go on too long about the sideboards with this particular matchup. And whoops, that's the wrong thing. And we can just go and switch on over, and whenever they're ready, start.
You guys can start whenever.
Now, I know this may not be as much of the case for you, but I don't know about. But I've been having a problem recently with Legacy, where I don't really know what to play. I'd been used to ways back. I used to play Miracles with Top, Grixis Delver, and Storm, and all three of the decks do not exist in the iterations that I'm used to. So I'm just kind of lost and wandering on the format like I was when Splinter Twin was banned in Modern.
You're talking to the guy that's 7 cards off from fully filling out his Legacy deck. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm playing.
I'm aware. That's why I said I'm pretty sure this doesn't apply to you.
Funny enough, I have a bunch of just blue cards sitting around. I might put together Grixis Death Shadow.
That deck is neat.
Mm-hmm.
It runs
Now,
minimal dual lands as well.
Correct. But like, as long as the deck doesn't run more than 2 of any dual land, I'm good.
Oh yeah, because you want 10 dual lands.
Mm-hmm.
Like a big boy.
Yeah, and Loam runs a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's relatively cheap. I'm not a huge fan of Delver. That's the only thing, but I'll give it a try. I'll see what happens.
I think playing Delver decks is fun, but that's just me.
Yeah.
He Knight the Reliquary.
Okay.
Off of that Sorcerer's Spyglass. We don't currently have a label maker or anything fancy, so for those listening, you may just have to remember that in your head.
Yeah, and Connor doesn't have too much going on right now.
No.
He's got Dark Depths in hand, but he's not going to be able to search up the Thespian stage. He'll just have to draw it naturally. Then there's Thought-Knot Seer. Probably going to get... I'm a little surprised that he didn't choose the Green Sun Zenith here.
Yeah, I have to agree. The Green Sun Zenith is just really versatile, and while the Remnant Excavator can bury on guard advantage, there's a good enough chance that he's running more than one of them, and you're only delaying it by 1 turn.
Well, he can also just Green Sun Zenith for another one.
That's what I was saying. And now we're seeing a Stoneforge at the battlefield, so this game's looking pretty good for Connor.
Yeah. Let's see if he brought in the Batterskull, and he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that matches up really well against Thought-Knot Seer.
Yeah. One other thing of note is with the timer. I think I forgot to reset it from last round, so when the timer runs up, we're not actually going to stop this match since it's our last match of the night. We're just going to play it out. I say, and then they're probably going to be back 2-hour match, and I'm just going to give up.
All right. So it's back over to Harley. So my only guess for taking the Ramanap is Harley is a little light on lands and doesn't want to get Wasteland locked.
Yeah, and he's just trying to delay that possibility. Okay, sure. I could see that, but
still... Nope, there we go.
There's another
Found
one.
another one.
But I think that right now that his best play is still just putting in this Batterskull.
Yeah, there's not much that Harley's going to be able to do about that right now.
Yeah. Pot the Batterskull, have yourself a nice 4/4 that matches up well against what the Thought-Knot's putting out.
Oh, hey, I'll just return it to hand and I'll play it again.
Yeah. And then, like, he can also later down the road equip it, and I think he's in a fine spot right now.
Okay. Harley's going to gain a couple life off of Glimmer Post and generate a couple mana off of Cloud Post. And this is when Connor responds.
Yep. Puts in that Batterskull, and now from Harley's side, wouldn't be surprised to see either a name on Wasteland or a name on Scavenging Ooze.
I would think that he would name Stoneforge Mystic.
So that way he can't just keep picking up.
Actually, I'm sorry, just name Batterskull.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that he can't equip it and he can't pick it back up.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair point. Because then he can actually just kind of like deal with this Batterskull. The opponent can't re-equip it, and it just becomes a Sarah Angel without flying and instead it has lifelink. I can't think of a 4/4 vigilant creature with lifelink at the moment.
Mm. All right. Harley's thinking.
Oh, he is thinking.
He
Okay.
decides to name Knight with both of them. I
Now,
don't like that.
he wants to give himself protection from the Abrupt Decay, but... So, he's in a weird spot right now. So Connor
he's not really losing to the Abrupt Decay. He's losing to the current board state.
Yeah, and even for Connor to get out his Neither Reliquary, he would need to draw into Neither Reliquary or a land to cast the Greenstone Zenith on 3, and then subsequently draw into the Abrupt Decay for it to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that just like I don't think that he can afford to hedge his bets that hard, specifically against Neither Reliquary.
All right. Ooh, and Connor's going to be able to get in for 5.
That's pretty huge here. Means that Harley is no longer able to block the Batterskull, and he can't really... His Thought-Knot Seer is kind of useless at this point.
So he really needs to generate a little bit more mana and play all his dust, it looks like.
Yeah, if he manages to get his way up to an All Is Dust, he will probably win the game. But he doesn't have that, and he isn't quite there mana-wise. Wait, no, he's there mana-wise.
Mm.
He doesn't have it in his hand, though.
What are your thoughts of Green Sun for another Noble Hierarch here to get in for 6 and put Harley in a very awkward blocking situation? I don't think it's right.
I don't think it's right, and I don't think it's necessary. But alternatively, what else can he Green Sun Zenith into?
Mm-hmm.
He can hit a Rhyminip Excavator, the Armasaur, a Qasali Pride Mage, Reclamation Shade theoretically, and then some other cards.
It also still allows Connor to return and redeploy the Batterskull.
Yeah, it might.
So it's just a thought. I don't know that it's necessarily
correct.
because it just exchanges the same. Like,
Yeah.
if Connor...
It means that he's able to kill off the Thought-Knot Seer, because right now when he swings, Harley can just block with a Thought-Knot Seer. I mean, with the Reality Smasher, but if he makes a 6/6, he has to double block both of his creatures.
Yeah. Okay. And Harley decides to make the not great exchange.
Yep.
Ooh. Connor decides, okay, I'm just going to equip.
Okay. I'm fine with that play.
All right, so Harley's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm only counting 9 mana right here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, that's 9 mana.
We're counting 9 mana.
Okay.
That's the
I-
third time Harley
Yeah,
has cheated
that's-
tonight.
He can't do it. Cool.
Gotta go back to preschool. Those 1, 2, 3s.
He's just recounting his mana furiously. How can I do this? Oh, Mike's still on. Whoops.
I am still on.
Hey, that's a swords. That's also pretty good.
Okay. Well, now that Connor knows about the Ulamog, he probably just holds on to the swords.
Yeah. I mean, like, so he could certainly deploy it here and just kind of get that value off the Thought-Knot Seer, but that little bit of information that he was given will affect his choice.
Mm-hmm. So now I like the Noble Hierarch play
Yeah.
because that allows this to be... okay, well, Harley decides just to chump block anyways,
Yeah.
so it didn't make a difference.
So, and he's going to gain 9 life?
Now he's going to gain 8 life. Batterskull's 4.
7, 8,
Yep.
yep. I was counting Batterskull as 5. Because apparently no one can count here tonight.
You know that Sorcerer Spyglass on Batterskull
would have been
Would
pretty
have been
good.
really good.
Yeah. Instead, he just has one on Neither Reliquary.
Yeah.
And another one on Neither Reliquary.
All those Neither Reliquaries. What is he going to do about all those Neither Reliquaries?
Oh, no. All right, so it looks like he's just going to eat another creature with Scavenging Ooze. And then
let's see if Connor is a good Maverick player. And, yep, removes counter from that Dark Depths.
it hardly ever comes up where you win that way, but it might come to that.
Yep. Crocus is interesting because he can bounce the Ulamog, but that typically is not what you want to do.
Unless you have lethal through that, you
Yes.
probably don't want to bounce the Ulamog. Okay. So Connor attacked. It looks like he paused to consider swords, so that way Harley couldn't get the block. But he decided to keep that as just kind of a valuable resource to handle something like an Ulamog or an Endbringer.
Mm-hmm. Wondering what Connor is green sunning for. Like he can get a Pride Mage, he can get a Thal. No, he can't Thal. Yeah, it's white. He can get a Scrib Ranger,
So
which doesn't do much.
Scrib Ranger doesn't do anything. His Monodorks don't really do anything.
Like if anything, you get the Gaddock Teague to make sure that he can't all his dust off the top.
Yeah, because if you get the Gaddock Teague, provided he didn't take it out of his deck for whatever reason, it gives you that little bit of insurance, because it also stops Ulamog.
Mm-hmm.
Because Ulamog would be
No.
actually better. Huh?
Why does it stop Ulamog?
Not Ulamog, sorry. Ugin.
Ugin, yes.
Ugin would be better than all his dust here.
Correct. All right. Harley doing a little reading.
Oh. So, I see possibly why Connor got the Scrib Ranger. It does have flying.
Oh, so he's thinking about equipping the Batter Skull to that.
Yeah.
That way he has an evasive threat and forces the Ulamog to... basically Harley can't deal with everything with the Ulamog.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't seem that great, but... Alright, he's able to do it now. He counted the mana.
And Connor still has that 3 mana to return Batter Skull back to his hand.
Yep. Now, Harley choosing to hit the Scavenging Ooze and the Dark Depths. Hitting the Scavenging Ooze, I feel, is 100% correct.
Connor's confused. Connor thought he chose Batter Skull, Scavenging Ooze, and then Harley's like, okay, Dark Depths. He's like, sure.
I think Connor was just kind of going like, oh, yeah, you did it.
It's like, okay, sure.
So Dark Depths is an interesting choice here. It does provide like one of the easier ways for you to just lose the game. So
I'm not certain why... Oh, okay.
Okay. Yep.
He's able to redeploy with a Germ.
Yep, that was...
But if he was going to equip it to Scrib Ranger anyways, I don't see a reason...
Now, there's a possibility that he planned that play out. I don't know that he did.
Like,
But
he had the swords for Ulamog. And...
now he has a lot to work with.
Yeah. I don't know. I would have just liked the Scrib Ranger suited up.
Yeah.
5 in the air.
And I still kind of personally like... Well, no, now he can play and equip the Sword of Fire and Ice to one of his creatures.
Mm-hmm. Now, this definitely should go on the Scrib Ranger. And that seems perfectly fine use of his mana.
He could also alternatively suit it up to his Ramayap Excavator and making it a 4/5, and then attack with his Batter Skull and his 4/5. And then Harley's forced into blocking the 4/5, takes 4 damage, and loses his Thought-Knot Seer.
Okay.
But he's just going to go for the more straightforward play.
Okay. So Connor's going to draw a card off of Thought-Knot Seer dying. Then he
And-
gets to shock Harley and draw another card.
Yep, that's a pretty good turn for him. He got to put a decent amount of damage through at Harley, and he got to pick up multiple cards.
Yep. And he's going to be able to just equip Batterskull the following turn. Yeah, if you wanted to stop the timer
Yeah, which
and probably reset it.
that wasn't intentional. Oh wait, what? What? Okay. There we
Okay.
go. We fixed it.
This is our last match of the night, and the timer didn't get reset at the start of the match. But
So we're just gonna let it come to its natural conclusion. As realistically, I think this match would finish in a 50-minute time span, anyways.
yeah.
This game, though, I think it's gonna go a little bit longer, but I think that Connor has this one.
Mhm.
The only possible out Harley has is an Ugin or an Alasdas, and if at any point Connor decides to go for the Gaddock Teague, the opponent pretty much has no outs.
Yep. All right. So Harley is down to 10. And
And
drawing a card. He does have a Green Sun Zenith, so if he didn't play a land for turn yet, he can go get
well, he
a
can.
Gaddock Teague.
He hasn't activated Script Ranger yet, has he?
He is not. So he'd
Yes.
be able to also untap the Noble Hierarch.
He has plenty of ways. So
But he should definitely play the Gaddock Teague to just ensure that he can win, unless Harley hits like the other Ulamog.
well, wait.
Hmm?
What does Eye of Ugin tutor?
Oh, he had the mana open for Eye.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pull up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, he
Yeah.
has a copy of Cloud Post, so he has plenty of mana.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull up a copy of Eye of Ugin for everyone to see here.
Yeah, it allows him to search up any colorless creature from his deck.
Now, unfortunately, that doesn't allow him to search up an All Dust or an Ugin, but he can get one of his bigger creatures if he wants to.
Yeah, and he decided to go get another Ulamog.
So it's completely reasonable here. It might be enough to kind of give him that last little push. He can exile the one flyer in play and then exile like a Rhyming Excavator or the sword itself. He can't hit that Batterskull because the opponent can just bounce it, but he can at least get rid of 2 creatures on the opponent's side.
All right. So this is going to make it a little bit more difficult for Connor, and it's not the life total that Connor is worried about. He's worried about decking out at this point.
Yeah. So it looks like Connor's going to return to land on top of that Noble Hierarch. And as to what he's going to do with that... Okay, he's going to Abrupt Decay one of those. Now,
Does he have a second Abrupt Decay? No, that's a white source.
he does have
Does
that...
he have Jitte still?
I don't know that he does.
It looks like he does.
Okay.
All right. The only thing he's missing right now is any type of evasion.
Yeah. If he had an evasive creature, he could get in there for quite a large bit of damage.
He does have another Abrupt Decay, which doesn't really do much. Like, it will get the Spyglass off the board. Oh, Crocus. The Crocus got exiled as the second target for Ulamog, so he won't be able to just bounce it.
Nope. He's going to have to figure out his way through this without a way to just remove it with one of his lands.
Yeah. Okay. So he decides to get the Reliquary.
Yep. And he has the removal spell for the other Spyglass here, but I'm not for sure exactly how much good he's going to get out of it.
Well, Connor's got to win next turn. Otherwise, he's just not going to have enough cards left in his deck.
Yeah. And for that Nile Reliquary to even have any impact, he's going to need for the remaining, I would imagine it's less than half of his deck, to have the land that he needs. And at this point, I'm not sure what that land is.
I feel like he just wanted to deploy another threat there.
Like, technically speaking, Knight is another threat, but the problem is that he just kind of gummed up on the ground.
Knight's also not very big right now. It's only a 3-3. So even if Connor split his equipment, let's see. Ooh, okay.
All right.
I don't know that there's
No.
Yeah.
So one thing I do want to talk about that's a cute alternative play. I don't know if he had any left, but instead of green sunning for that Nihilura core, he could have green sun for Birds of Paradise. Equip the Umezawa's Jitte with one of his creatures, suicided it in, and then have guaranteed lethal the following turn. Because he could equip the Batter Skull plus the sword and the Jitte, and I think he had 9 mana, but I could also be wrong on that. So.
All right. That is our last match for this evening.
Yep.
Oh
yeah, that was 2-0.
Yep. Won by Harley 2-0 off of the back of a second Ulamog.
Second Ulamog plus that Alostas just kind of put that final nail in the coffin. So, I hope everyone enjoyed the Legacy content we brought to them tonight. I think it was a pretty enjoyable, pretty entertaining all the way through. We are going to be playing this on repeat shortly after the stream ends, so if you came at the end and you want to kind of see the rest of what happened, feel free to come back in. It'll be all the rounds you see up here.
Okay. We're probably playing Modern next week.
Yep.
Unless there's some big alternative that we decide on last minute.
Yep.
But I think everybody's pretty set on Modern.
And
that's going to be next Tuesday,
starting
7:30.
at 7:30.
Yep. You can catch us here, twitch.tv/MTGGetThere.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next week.
And thanks for all those who got there tonight.
Later.